Second Chance, First Love by Tyla Walker.
The spicy scenes from this audiobook and any other on Miss Tyla's YouTube channel aren't allowed to go on air.
Why? Because of YouTube's guidelines.
It's not ideal, but it's how we can keep releasing these free audiobooks for you to enjoy.
Luckily, you can always grab the unabridged version of any audiobook from TylaWalker.com.
Every dirty detail is waiting for you. Get it for 40% off with discount code SAVE40.
Take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for updates on our daily releases.
This is Tyla Walker's Second Chance, First Love. Chapter 1. Bryn. The minute I step off the bus, the familiar sights of my small hometown wash over me like a bittersweet wave. The scent of freshly baked bread from Mrs. Donnelly's bakery mingles with the crisp autumn air. My heart does a little flip. I scan the street, noting the new coffee shop where the old hardware store used to be. Some things change, just as people do, I guess. Bryn Cole. As I live and breathe, Mrs. Donnelly herself emerges from her shop, flour dusting her apron. Never thought I'd see you back here. I force a smile. Hey, Mrs. Donnelly, long time no see. Her smile has always been so warm. You know, seems that fancy New York air hasn't changed you one bit. Still the same girl who used to draw on my sidewalks with chalk. I chuckle. And you still make the best bread in town, I see. She waves a hand dismissively. Oh, go on with you. But seriously, it's good to see you, Bryn. Don't be a stranger, all right? Will do, I promise, though I'm not sure how true that is. As I walk down Main Street, memories rush back like I knew they would. There's the park where I first learned to sketch landscapes, the diner where we had our first date. I pushed that thought aside. Quincy Harper. Just his name stirs up a cocktail of emotions. Nostalgia, regret, and something else I can't quite place. I keep walking, my steps slow and deliberate, the weight of memories pressing down on me. It's impossible not to think about the day I decided to leave for New York. The decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The memory of Quincy's face as I told him I was leaving still haunts me. We were standing in his parents' opulent living room, the tension between us palpable. New York? He'd echoed, his voice incredulous. Bryn, you can't be serious. I have to do this, Quincy, I'd insisted, my voice firm despite the tears threatening to spill. This is the chance of a lifetime. I can't pass it up. And what about us? His eyes, usually so full of life, had been dark with hurt. You're just gonna throw it all away? You can come with me. I threw the idea out there, hoping he took the bite. We can rent some crappy apartment we can barely afford and binge Chinese takeout every night. Consider it a new adventure, I said. It's not that easy, Bryn. I have responsibilities here, expectations that have to be fulfilled, he said as he ran his hands through his chestnut brown hair, just as I had many times before. It was at that point that I finally realized that his devotion towards his family and maintaining their social status was far more important than his devotion to me. It's something I had considered for a very long time, but the foreshadowing didn't make it hurt any less. I have to go, Quincy, I said, trying to conceal the wave of emotions undulating under the surface. I need to find out who I am outside of this town. And since you won't come with me, outside of us? He'd stared at me for what felt like an eternity before he nodded. His jaw set. Fine, go, but don't expect me to wait around. I wouldn't ask you to. I'd whispered to him as my heart shattered while I blindly hoped that he would. Little did I know then that I would be the one still harboring unresolved feelings, waiting around for seemingly nothing. The ride to New York had been a blur of tears and doubt, but once I'd arrived, the city had enveloped me in its chaotic embrace, and I'd thrown myself into my art with a fervor I didn't know I possessed. Every brushstroke, every sketch was a way to channel the pain, the longing, the what-ifs. And yet, here I am, back in this town, accomplishing what all I had set out to do in New York, yet unable to fully escape the ghosts of my past. The memory of Quincy is as vivid as ever, and I can't help but wonder if I'll ever truly move on. As I make my way to my mom's house, the leaves crunch under my boots, each step a reminder of the most important reason why I'm here. The truth is, my mom's health has been declining, and she needs me. The strong woman who raised me on her own, who taught me to be fierce and independent, now needs my help. I push open the front gate, the hinges squeaking in protest. The house looks the same, yet somehow smaller, like it's been holding its breath, waiting for my return. "Bryn, honey, is that you?" Her sing-song voice carries out the open kitchen window, accompanied by something that smells delectable. "Yeah, Mama, it's me," I say, as I juggle the bags in my hands and open the screen door. Once inside, Mama surveys the shopping bags I've now littered all over the kitchen table. "Did you leave anything in the store, or is it all in those bags?" she asked with a smirk as she stirs a pot of something on the stove. "I had to get some new materials. Bob Ross was full of crap when he said everything turns out to be a happy accident." "Bryn Cole," she says with wide eyes. "That's no kind of language for a lady." She points her wooden spoon at me for extra emphasis. "Well, good thing there's no one here I'm looking to impress." The lie tastes immediately bad in my mouth as soon as I say it. Mama gives me that look that says what she's thinking without needing words, and I can almost guarantee what she is thinking is, "You, Bryn Cole, are also full of crap." Mama spent many late nights on the phone with me as I cried my eyes out over Quincy Harper. "Have you seen my palette knives?" I ask, hoping to break this awkward stare down. "In the box by the window, where you left them last time," she replies, her voice tinged with amusement. "Right, of course. I'm hoping to get this last little bit finished before tomorrow," I mutter, grabbing the box and pulling out the knives. I can't help but smile at her knowing tone. She always remembers where I leave my things, even when I don't. "Well, don't stay up all evening working yourself to death, baby. Everything is going to be perfect," she says as she walks towards me, her steps slightly slower than I remember. "If you don't get it finished, it's okay. There will be plenty more exhibitions." She dusts off her apron as she wraps me in a hug. "Thank you, Mama," I say, hugging her back. If it wasn't for her, I'm not sure how I would have made it through those lonely years in New York. I owe it to her to be here and help her for as long as she so needs it. "Now grab a bowl and get some soup. It won't be any count if it gets cold," she says as she walks out of the kitchen, drying her wet hands on a dish towel. I go to the cupboard and grab 2 bowls, scooping up 2 healthy servings of her homemade vegetable soup. I grab 2 spoons and head to the den, where Mama sits back in the recliner, surfing the channels and resting her legs from standing at the stove, perfecting soup for hours, I'm sure. I hand her a bowl and she smiles up at me graciously. I plop down beside her on the sofa and dig in. Man, have I missed her cooking. There's only so many times one can enjoy ramen noodles before they're exiled. We watch cheesy sitcoms and eat our weight in soup until we're both so tired we can't keep our eyes open. As I get up off the couch, I realize she's right. Granted, she usually is. The unfinished painting sitting in my makeshift studio in the small guest bedroom with no natural light can wait. I've poured my heart and soul into the work that is being displayed tomorrow, and that is more than enough for me. I head down the hall to my childhood bedroom. "Good night, Mama," I say as I pass her room, and as soon as I change into something more comfortable and bury myself under the covers, I am sound asleep. The next morning, I stand in front of the local gallery, the autumn wind nipping at my face. My art is in there, on display for the first time in my hometown. The excitement bubbles up inside me, mingling with a knot of apprehension that sits heavy in my stomach. The need to prove myself is strong. If this so happens to flop, I'm not so sure I can stick around. I may have to kidnap Mama and hide us back in New York. Ready to face the music? Mama's voice breaks through my thoughts. She stands beside me, her hand warm on my arm. More like ready to face the memories. I mutter, my eyes scanning the sidewalks, dreading a familiar face. You sure this was a good idea? She squeezes my arm gently. It's about time, Bryn. You've got nothing to be afraid of. Easy for her to say. She's not the one who left a trail of unfinished business behind.
Chapter 2. Quincy. Well, here goes nothing, I say as I step into the gallery. The familiar scent of fresh paint and varnish hits me. Bryn Cole is back in town and she's setting up for her exhibition. I've been wrestling with how I'd feel seeing her again after all these years. It feels like yesterday that she stomped all over my heart and didn't attempt to mend the pieces. She left me in this town in the dust, focusing on her dream. Don't get me wrong, I'm proud as hell at her for that, but part of me will always be jealous that I was stuck here in this hellhole, being a puppet, and miserable as hell without her. It's not solely her fault I had a hand in the outcome. I could have easily said screw the patriarchy and followed her to New York, like I had wanted to. But I didn't. Instead, you were a stubborn asshole who hadn't cut his own puppet strings yet. But I spent a long time dwelling on my decisions, and there's no point to now. We can't rewrite the past. Then I take a deep breath and head towards the main exhibition hall. As I turn the corner, there she is, her back to me, arranging one of her paintings. Holy crap. She's really here. Her curly hair is pulled into an elegant updo, and she's humming softly. For a moment, I just watch her, my heart pounding in my chest. Seeing her again feels like a punch to the gut, but I keep my face impassive. Years apart, and it's like nothing's changed. My heart still does that stupid flip whenever I'm near her. I can't let her see that, though. I might as well get this over with. I'm sure it will be much less awkward now than with half the town's eyes on us once the exhibition starts. I approach her quietly, trying not to startle her. A little to the left, I say. It's actually straight on, but that's the only thing I could think of to say to bridge the conversation. She whips around, piercing me with those cat eyes she has, like she's ready to pounce on me for offering my opinion. Then, as recognition dawns on her, her angry expression turns into one of shock. She opens her mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. This is certainly not like the Bryn I remember. She was quick to let you know her thoughts. You sometimes couldn't get a word in edgewise. Funny. Never thought there would be a day where you were speechless, I say with a sly smile. Her eyes flash back in my direction, and now I see the fire in them. There she is. That's the girl I knew. Quincy? Her voice is a mix of surprise, confusion, and irritation as she adjusts her blouse. What are you doing here? I lean against the doorway. Don't most people come to galleries to see art? She immediately looks down at her watch. Her panic looks subsiding when she realizes that she's not late, that I am indeed very early. Well, considering the exhibition doesn't start for another 3 hours, being here this early is a little bizarre, she says, confusion and anger marring her face. Well, considering I own the place, I can show up whenever I like. She blinks, processing my words. You own the gallery? I knew I should have looked into that. Yeah, bought it a couple of years ago. Needed something to keep me busy, had some time on my hands, you know? Her face morphs into irritation. I know I've struck a nerve. Most people start a hobby, like fishing or reading, not buy an art gallery, she says as she places her hands on her hips defiantly. When there's no one that you have to discuss your decisions with, you can buy whatever the hell you want. One of the perks of being a bachelor, I say with a snide grin. Okay, that was a low blow, and definitely a lie because most of my nights are spent on my couch watching the Great British Bake Off, not wrapped up in another woman. She advances on me. She's got venom packed behind what she's about to say. After all this time, I can still read her like a book. Well, it's nice to know that your priorities haven't changed. All you tend to care about is yourself, she says, bowing up to me, despite being about half a foot too short to meet me square on. It's been years, Bryn. You wouldn't begin to know what I care and don't about anymore, I respond with resolution. She just stares at me, a standoff, seeing who is willing to blink or break first. Standing this close to her, I smell all too familiar lavender and honey scent that screams Bryn Cole. I need to retreat before the memories flood in and I do something stupid. I clear my throat, breaking our stare, and shifting my weight from one foot to the other. The silence between us stretches, uncomfortable and heavy. Bryn's eyes dart around the room, clearly looking for an escape route. So, I start, walking around her art like I'm scrutinizing it. You've been busy in New York, huh? Yeah, she says, still not meeting my eyes. Lots of work, lots of everything. You're pretty good, I say, trying to sound casual. Thanks, she replies, her voice flat. An awkward pause follows. I can hear the hum of the gallery's air conditioning, the distant clatter of someone setting up a display. It's maddening how loud everything feels when there's nothing to say. I should get back to work, she says, glancing at the painting she was adjusting earlier. I'd hate to disappoint the owner. I don't miss the sarcasm lacing that comment. Right, I say, stepping back. I'll leave you to it. I turn to leave, my heart heavy with the weight of everything left unsaid. Seeing Bryn again has stirred up a storm of emotions I thought I'd buried. But one thing's clear. I never really moved on. Judging by the look in her eyes, maybe she hasn't either.
Chapter 3. Bryn. Get yourself together, I whisper to myself after Quincy disappears. I take a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. This art exhibition is my baby, my first debut back in my hometown, and I refuse to let Quincy's sudden reappearance rattle me. I arrange the last canvas on the wall, stepping back to admire the balance of colors and textures. Each piece is a fragment of my soul, painstakingly crafted over the years. You like to hang your emotions out for the world to see, huh? A gentleman's voice cuts through the silence. I turn to find an elderly man, probably in his 60s, clutching a cane and looking up wide-eyed at my pieces. My mama once told me it's better than bottling them up and cheaper than therapy, I say, laughing. My fingers fumble with the frame, my hands trembling slightly. He looks at the pamphlet in his hand that lists the pieces by name and price. Well, I'm not sure how much I believe it's cheaper than therapy, unless Oprah is your therapist, he says with a grunt, as his eyes adjust to their normal size, as I'm sure he stumbled across what I'm sure is the price of this very painting. This specific piece took nearly 2 weeks and hours of sleepless nights to pull together. It was one of the first big works I took on after moving to New York. A lot of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and sappy Taylor Swift lyrics went into being the muse for this piece. You're very talented, young lady, he says with a small smile. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that, I respond back. He walks over to the corner of the frame and places a sold tag with his information on it. If there wasn't a cocktail table within reach for me to use as leverage, I probably would have collapsed to the ground. This was the most expensive piece I had listed tonight, and it's the first one that has sold. I swallow down my emotion. Thank you so much, Mr. I reach for the tag to read his information. McDermott. You have no idea how much this means to me, I say, choking back the tears. If it keeps you expressing yourself like this and not bottling it up, or if it keeps you out of Oprah's office, it's worth every penny. He gives me a pearly white dentured smile. Best of luck the rest of the evening, Miss Cole. Knock 'em dead. He walks away, and I frantically swipe under my eyes, praying that none of the tears that transpired fell and ruined my makeup. I wish Mama could have been here to see me sell this one. I hailed a cab for her a little over an hour ago. She felt terrible leaving, but all the back and forth carrying my pieces in did a number on her. I sent her back home and ordered the cab driver to send me a text when she was in safely. Judging from his text, she's been home about 20 minutes now, and probably already asleep. The evening continues and blurs into a whirlwind of transactions, compliments, and conversations. To my great surprise, every single piece finds a new home, each sale bringing a wave of disbelief accompanied with stark relief. Finally, as I take the last canvas off the wall and wrap it carefully for transport, I'm able to take a step back and take a deep breath. I can't believe it. All my artwork is sold. My head spins, but I hold on to the reality of the moment. I did it. I really did it. The gallery is nearly empty, apart from the waitstaff cleaning up the area. As Quincy walks over, his presence commanding yet oddly comforting. "Looks like you cleaned house tonight," he says, a hint of admiration in his voice. "I did," I respond, trying to keep my tone neutral. "And you doubted I could?" He smirks, crossing his arms. "Never doubted your talent, Bryn. Just didn't expect this town to recognize it so quickly." I sigh, shaking my head. "Small towns have a way of surprising you." "True," he says, his eyes softening. "So do people. Listen, how about we celebrate your success? Dinner's on me." I hesitate, glancing around the gallery. The thought of sitting across from him, reliving old memories, feels like opening Pandora's box. But there's also a part of me that's curious, eager even. "Dinner, huh? Celebrating my success or looking for an excuse to talk?" "Both," he admits, shrugging. I need to apologize for how standoffish I was earlier. Not my best moment, but I also want to discuss another exhibit. Your work deserves more than just one night. I bite my lip, weighing my options. I could say no, keep my guard up, and avoid potential heartache. Or I could say yes and face whatever this is head on. "Just dinner?" "Just dinner," he echoes, his gaze steady and sincere. "Fine," I say, trying to sound casual. "One dinner, but if this conversation goes sideways and we start throwing daggers at each other, I'm out." "Deal," he says, a small smile playing on his lips. "I've got just the place." I nod, feeling a mix of apprehension and anticipation. "All right, lead the way." We walk out of the gallery together, the cool night air wrapping around us. The streets are quiet, a stark contrast to the bustling noise of New York. As we make our way to his car, I can't help but steal glances at him. He's changed, but there's still that same Quincy beneath the surface. He opens the passenger door to his modest 4-door car, and I hop in. He quickly hops into the driver's seat, and we pull out of the parking lot, headed south. The cabin of the car is charged with some weird energy, but neither of us mention it. "So," I say, breaking the awkward silence. "Why the gallery?" "Why not? Wanted to do something meaningful, you know?" He replies. "I get it," I say, nodding. "And here I thought you were destined to be a corporate drone." He chuckles, shaking his head. "Guess we both had some growing up to do." I can't help but think to myself, some sooner than others.
Chapter 4. Quincy. The leather seats creak as Bryn shifts beside me, her fingers drumming on her knee. I steal another glance at her, the soft glow from the dashboard illuminating her profile. She looks as stunning as ever, though the tight set of her jaw tells me she's not entirely at ease. "Nice car," she says, breaking the silence. "Thanks," I reply, hiding my grin. Is there sarcasm behind that statement? Or do you really appreciate the economy stylings of my Camry? She fights a giggle. I just figured you'd be driving a Porsche or a Tesla or something. The Ferrari is at home. It takes too much gas. She raises an eyebrow. You have a Ferrari? No, but I do have a really nice SUV. I call it the grocery getter, I say, shooting her a sideways look. She rolls her eyes but can't hide the small smile tugging at her lips. We fall into a comfortable silence, the kind that used to come so naturally to us. I take a right turn and I see her eyes widen in recognition. We're almost there, aren't we? She asks, her voice soft. Yeah, I admit, slowing down as we approach the familiar spot. Thought it might be nice to go somewhere that meant something to us. I park the car in front of the old retro diner, its neon sign flickering like a half-forgotten memory. I hop out and jog around to open Bryn's door. She gives me a curious look, half amused, half skeptical. I hope this is okay. We walk inside, the bell above the door jingling like it's welcoming us back to the past. The place hasn't changed much. Red vinyl booths, black and white checkered floors, the smell of greasy fries and nostalgia in the air. The hostess, a teenager with braces and an overenthusiastic smile, leads us to a booth in the corner. We slide in, facing each other across the table. She hands us menus, but I already know what I'm getting. Bryn scans the menu, then looks up at the hostess. I'll have the usual, she says with a small, confident smile. I stifle a laugh. Bryn, they don't have your usual anymore. She frowns. What do you mean? It left when you left for New York. Turns out you were the only one who ever ordered it. Her eyes widen in disbelief. Seriously? No one else ever ordered an omelet with Spam and pickles? Nope. You were a one-woman fan club for that monstrosity. She narrows her eyes at me, but I can see the corners of her mouth twitching. It wasn't a monstrosity. It was unique. Unique is one word for it, I tease, closing my menu. Can you give us a minute? The tourist needs a chance to look over the menu. Bryn smacks me with the menu as the teenager scurries away. She chuckles softly, eyes skimming the pages. I still can't believe you remember this place. Of course I remember it. I probably remember more things about our time together than I should. As soon as the words leave my lips, I regret it. I try to study her face to see how it made her feel, but she just smiles and studies the menu. Classic Bryn, hiding behind that calm exterior. I clear my throat, trying to recover. You know, the new Turkey Club is pretty solid. Really? Turkey Club? That's what you recommend? She lifts her gaze, eyebrow raised, a playful glint in her eye. Well, unless you want to live dangerously and go for the mystery meatloaf special. She laughs, a sound that tugs at something deep inside me. I think I'll pass on that one. How about I just get the grilled cheese? Safe and classic. Classic, I echo, nodding. Can't go wrong with that. The waitress returns, taking our orders with a practiced smile. Bryn and I swap small banter back and forth as we wait for our orders. After a few minutes, the grilled cheese arrives looking golden and perfect. My burger isn't half bad either. We dig in, and for a while there's only the sound of chewing and the clink of utensils. So, I say, wiping my mouth with the napkin, what's the art scene like in New York? Chaotic, Bryn replies, cutting her sandwich into neat triangles. But in a good way. It's competitive, sure, but also inspiring. There's always something new to see, someone new to meet. Sounds like you thrived, I say, feeling a pang of pride. I always knew you would. She smiles, but there's a shadow in her eyes. I did, but it wasn't easy. Had to hustle to get noticed. A lot of late nights, a lot of rejections. Worth it though, right? You're here, showcasing your work, selling out. Yeah, it is, but sometimes I wonder if I lost more than I gained. Her words hang in the air, heavy with meaning. I decide to take the plunge. What about personal stuff? Anyone special? She shakes her head, taking a sip of her water. Not really. Dated a bit, but nothing serious. Too focused on my work, I guess. I lean back, feeling a strange mix of relief and curiosity. Same here. No one serious. I mean, I've dated, but nothing substantial. She looks up, eyes locking with mine. It's nice too we're on common ground with being loveless losers, she says softly with a laugh. And for a moment we're back in time. 2 kids falling in love all over again. I watch Bryn sip her water, her eyes avoiding mine. The tension between us crackles like static. I can't help but wonder if she's as caught up on me as I am on her. Every laugh, every sideways glance, there's something there. As we step out of the diner, Bryn stretches her arms and takes a deep breath. I think I'll just walk home, she says, looking around. Mom's house is just a few blocks away, you know. Mind if I join you? I ask, my voice casual but my heart racing. She raises an eyebrow. Your car's right there, Quincy. Seems a bit impractical, don't you think? I grin, because I remember how much you like to take walks. She looks at me for a moment, then shakes her head with a small smile. All right, but don't complain if your fancy shoes get scuffed. Trust me, I can handle it. We start walking, the cool night air brushing against our faces. The streets are quiet, the only sound our footsteps echoing off the pavement. I steal glances at Bryn, her face serene in the moonlight. It feels surreal, like stepping back in time. I glance at the familiar houses, the trees lining the street. It's like nothing has changed, yet everything feels different. So, what's next for you? I ask, genuinely curious. Honestly, I'm not sure, she admits. Taking care of Mom, figuring out my next move. Maybe another exhibit if tonight's success is anything to go by. It was a huge success. You should be proud. I am. But it's more than just the art. It's everything else. I nod, knowing exactly what she means. The past, the unresolved emotions, the future that's still uncertain. We walk in silence for a few more minutes until we reach her mom's house. The same warm feeling hits me just like it did all those years ago. It feels like stepping back in time. The house looks exactly the same. We stop at the gate, the house looming behind her like a silent guardian. Bryn turns to face me, her eyes searching mine for something unsaid. The porch light casts a soft halo around her, making her look ethereal, almost like she belongs to another world. Thanks for the walk, Quincy, and for dinner. It was nice, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Nice, huh? I'll take that as a win. I was expecting something more along the lines of repulsed by our first interaction. She smiles, but it's tinged with something bittersweet. Good night, Quincy. Good night, Bryn. She turns and walks up the path, her steps slow, almost reluctant. I watch her until she reaches the door, fumbling with her keys. She pauses, looking back at me one last time before slipping inside. I stand there for a moment, letting the night air wash over me. Then, with a sigh, I turn and head back to my car. Each step feels heavier, like I'm walking away from something. When I reach my car, I can't shake the feeling of emptiness. I lean against the hood. There's no way I miss her already. I went without seeing her for years, I mutter to myself, shaking my head. I pull out my phone, contemplating sending her a message. Something casual like, good night, or had a great time. But then I realize she probably doesn't have the same number that she had 4 years ago. I slip the phone back into my pocket and open the car door. Sliding into the driver's seat, I grip the steering wheel, staring out the windshield. The memories flood back. Our late-night talks, the way she used to laugh at my terrible jokes, the feel of her hand in mine. It's like a punch to the gut. Get it together, Harper, I mutter, starting the engine. The car purrs to life, but the noise feels hollow. I drive away, the streetlights casting fleeting shadows across the dashboard. My mind keeps drifting back to Bryn, to the way her eyes softened when she looked at me, to the unspoken words hanging between us. I'm not sure what's more painful, seeing her again or realizing how much I've missed her. And I'm not sure if that's a gift or a curse at this point.
Chapter 5. Bryn. The front door creaks as I push it open. Mom's lying on the couch, a throw draped over her legs, her eyes lighting up when she sees me. "Well, if it isn't the star of the evening," she says, her voice tinged with amusement. "How'd the rest of the exhibition go?" "Better than I expected," I reply, dropping my bag by the door and kicking off my heels. "Sold every piece." "That's fantastic, Bryn." She sits up, wincing slightly. "You must be over the moon." "I am," I say, plopping down beside her. "But it's exhausting too. I forgot how tiring these things can be." She reaches out and squeezes my hand. "I'm proud of you, honey." "It's nothing, Mama. Just glad to be back here doing something I love," I say, trying to keep my tone light. Mom narrows her eyes, not buying it for a second. "You sure this is about you selling out? Or is it about Quincy?" I blink, feeling like I've been caught with my hand in the cookie jar. "How did you know he was there?" She chuckles, the sound rich with the wisdom of years. "Bryn, honey, have you forgotten where you came from? This is a small town. I know he owns the gallery. I was hoping you'd cross paths tonight." "Of course you did," I mutter, sinking deeper into the couch. "You could have warned me." "Would it have made a difference?" she asks, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "You're just as stubborn as I am." "Maybe," I admit, a small smile tugging at my lips. "But it would have been nice to prepare." Mom reaches over, tucking a stray curl behind my ear. "Sometimes life doesn't give you time to prepare. You just have to dive in." "Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly ready to dive back into that particular pool," I say, my voice tinged with frustration. "Did he say anything?" she asks, her curiosity piqued. I sigh, running a hand through my hair. "He congratulated me on the exhibition, then he invited me to dinner." Mom's eyebrows shoot up. "And?" "And I went," I confess, rolling my eyes at her knowing grin. "How was it?" she presses, leaning forward. "It was nice," I say, choosing my words carefully. "We caught up, talked about what we've been doing. It was like old times, but also different." "Different how?" she asks, her voice gentle. I pause, searching for the right words. "It's like we're the same people, but we've changed. Grown up, I guess." Mom nods, her expression thoughtful. "That's not necessarily a bad thing, Bryn. Sometimes people need time apart to grow and find themselves." "Maybe," I concede, "but it's complicated. There's a lot of history there." "History isn't always a bad thing," she says softly. "It's what shapes us, makes us who we are." I shake my head incredulous. "Are you rooting for us, after everything?" She shrugs, a small smile playing on her lips. "I've seen how you haven't moved on over the years. Sometimes a heart only falls in love once. Even if you can't be together, that love never changes." Her words hit me like a freight train. "You really think that?" She nods, her expression softening. "I do. I've watched you, Bryn. You've thrown yourself into your art, into taking care of me, but you've never really let go of him, have you?" I swallow hard, her words cutting through the layers of self-deception I've built. Maybe I haven't, but that doesn't mean we can just pick up where we left off. "No, it doesn't," she agrees. "But it means there's still something there, something worth exploring." I look at her, searching for a hint of doubt but find none. "You really think it's that simple?" "Simple? No, worth it. Absolutely," she says, her eyes shining with conviction. I walk over to her and give her a kiss on the forehead. You've always been so wise. I don't know what I'd do without you. She looks up at me with a tired smile. Right back at you, kiddo. I lean down and start to slide my heels off my feet. My feet and back are telling me I'm definitely not a kiddo anymore. I'm heading to bed. Do you need anything? I ask her. No, baby. I'll get up and head to bed soon. I've got to see if Samson chooses faith or I won't sleep tonight. Mama has always loved the cheesy soap opera type shows. I could pick that theme song out in my sleep. Good night, Mama, I say while heading down the hallway. Good night, superstar, she responds. If only she knew how much that sentiment means to me. Hours pass as I lie in bed. The ceiling fan casting slow-moving shadows across the room. My mind drifts back to the days when Quincy and I were inseparable. We were just kids, but it felt like we had the world at our feet. Do you remember the first time we skipped school together? Quincy's voice echoes in my mind, full of mischief and excitement. Of course I do. I whisper to the darkness, a smile tugging at my lips. We went to the old train tracks. You said it was the perfect place to find inspiration. He had always been so sure of himself, so certain that he could find beauty in the most unlikely places. It was one of the things that drew me to him. His confidence was infectious, and I found myself believing in the impossible whenever he was around. We're going to make something amazing, Bryn. Just you wait and see. Those words had stayed with me, even as we grew up and went our separate ways. I had thrown myself into my art, trying to capture that same sense of wonder and possibility that Quincy had always seen in the world. I turn onto my side, the cool sheets a welcome contrast to the warmth of the summer night. The memories keep coming, each one more vivid than the last. Our first kiss, under the bleachers at the football field. The way he had looked at me, like I was the only person in the world that mattered. You know, you're kind of amazing, he had said, his blue eyes locking onto mine. I had laughed, the sound a mix of nerves and happiness. You're not so bad yourself, Harper. And then there were the nights we spent lying on the hood of his car, staring up at the stars, and talking about our dreams. I'm going to get out of this town, I had told him, my voice full of determination. I'm going to make something of myself. He had nodded, his hand finding mine in the darkness. And I'll be right there with you. But life had other plans. We had drifted apart, each of us chasing our own dreams. And yet here we were, back in the same town, our paths crossing once more. Maybe it's fate, I muse aloud, the thought both comforting and terrifying. I close my eyes, the memory swirling around me like a warm embrace. Despite everything, a part of me has never really let go of Quincy. And maybe, just maybe, he hasn't let go of me either. As sleep finally takes hold, I can't help but wonder what the future holds for us. But for now, I'm content to let the memories wash over me, a reminder of a love that has never truly faded.
Chapter 6. Quincy. I can't get her out of my head. It's all consuming. It's more than that. It's the fire in her eyes when she talks about her art, the passion that makes her who she is. Bryn. Her name echoes in my mind, pulling at the strings of old memories. I can't shake the way she looked last night, the light in her eyes, that infectious laugh. Damn, she's even more beautiful than I remember. I lean against the office window, watching the bustling street outside. The city's noise fades as my thoughts drift back to our dinner. Her smile, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, how she glanced at me when she thought I wasn't looking. Quincy, you good? Seth, my assistant/childhood best friend, asks, breaking my reverie. Yeah, just thinking. I push off the window, running a hand through my hair. About Bryn? He guesses, a knowing smirk on his face. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's known you for a decade. I chuckle, shaking my head. She's different now, more confident, more her. You still have feelings for her? Feelings? That's putting it mildly. I let out a frustrated sigh. I want to hate her for leaving, for breaking us, but I can't. It's like trying to hate the sun for setting. Seth nods, thoughtful. So what now? You just gonna pine away? No. Even if we can't be together, I want to be around her. She's like a goddamn magnet. Then you better figure out how to do that without driving yourself crazy. Already on it, I say, grabbing my jacket. I've got an idea. Seth raises an eyebrow. Care to share? I'm going to offer her a permanent space in the gallery. I grin, the plan forming in my mind. Well, that's one way to do it. Seth chuckles as he takes a sip of coffee. I pull out my phone, scrolling through the contacts until I find her name. After my yearn to text her last night, not knowing if her number was the same, I drove on over to the gallery and looked through her signed contract for the exhibition. And as fate would have it, her number is the same after all these years. Maybe there was a reason I could never delete it. Taking a deep breath, I hit the call button. Quincy? Her voice is warm, yet I can sense the underlying tension. A small part of me is elated that she obviously must not have deleted my number either. Hey, Bryn, I wanted to talk to you about something. Okay. She trails off, clearly cautious. I was thinking, I start, pacing the length of my office, about your exhibition last night. Okay, she replies, her tone softening a bit. I have a proposition for you, I continue, leaning against my desk. How would you feel about having a permanent space in the gallery? Silence. I can almost hear her brain working through the offer. Permanent? She asks after a long pause, her voice laced with curiosity and a touch of hesitation. Yeah, I think your work deserves to be seen more. It's not just a one-time thing, Bryn. You've got talent that needs a regular platform. Quincy, that's an incredible offer. But I cut her off, sensing the but coming a mile away. I promise this is just an old friend helping out an old friend. Nothing else. She hesitates, and I sense the questions bubbling up inside her. Before she can voice them, I decide to drop the bombshell. I'm the one that bought the rest of your art from the exhibition. You were? Why would you do that? Yeah, I continue, a grin spreading across my face. I couldn't let those pieces go to just anyone. They deserved a home where they'd be appreciated. You really bought them? She asks, her voice a mixture of incredulity and gratitude. I did, I confirm. I even considered tracking down Mr. McDermott and buying the one he bought, back to complete the selection. But I decided against it. Quincy, I don't know what to say, she stammers, clearly taken aback. Say you'll take the permanent space, I urge. You deserve it, Bryn. Your work deserves it. There's a pause on the other end of the line, and I hold my breath, waiting for her response. Okay, she finally says, her voice soft but resolute. I'll do it. A wave of relief washes over me, and I can't help but feel a surge of triumph. You won't regret it, Bryn. Thank you, Quincy, she says, her tone filled with genuine gratitude. I mean it. Thank you for this opportunity. Anytime, I reply, the word carrying more weight than she probably realizes. There's another moment of silence, and I can feel the connection between us, the unspoken bond that has always been there, even through the years of separation. So, how about we sit down and draw up a contract, I suggest, breaking the silence. Sure, she says, her voice laced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. When and where? How about tomorrow afternoon at my place, I offer. Say around 6. I can hear the hesitation in her voice. Your place? Yeah, it's quieter. We can go over the overheads, percentages, commissions, all that boring stuff. I keep my tone light, assuring her that it'll only be a business meeting. Do I need to bring my lawyer? She asks. I laugh, shaking my head even though she can't see me. There's no need for that. Bryn, I'd never do anything to jeopardize your career. Trust me. All right, she says, her voice soft but resolved. Text me your address. Will do. See you tomorrow, I reply, a grin spreading across my face as I hang up. Are you planning on including keeping it in your pants in the contract? Seth's voice cuts through my thoughts, and I snap my head toward him, realizing he's been here the entire time. Jesus, Seth, you eavesdrop much? I shove my phone into my pocket, irritation and amusement warring within me. Hey, you were the one having a personal conversation in the middle of the office. He shrugs, leaning back in his chair with a smug grin. And no, that's not going to happen, I say. Right, Seth drawls, clearly unconvinced. So you're telling me that after all these years you're just gonna play it cool? No feelings, no baggage? I sigh, rubbing my temples. Look, it's gonna take a lot longer than a few days to convince Bryn that things are different. Hell, it's gonna take a lot to convince myself. He raises an eyebrow. And you think offering her a permanent spot in the gallery is gonna do the trick? It's a start, I reply, more to myself than to him. She needs stability, and I want to give her that. He smirks, leaning forward. Stability, huh? Is that what they're calling it these days? Shut up, Seth. Be gone, I snap, though I can't help the small smile tugging at my lips. He laughs as the door closes behind him. I let out a long breath. The road ahead is uncertain, and the stakes have never been higher. But for the possibility of another chance with Bryn, I'll walk it 1,000 times over.
Chapter 7. Bryn. I punch Quincy's address into the GPS and set off. The familiar voice guiding me through streets I once knew like the back of my hand. My hands grip the steering wheel a little too tightly, and I force myself to relax. This isn't a big deal, just an old friend helping out another old friend. I tell myself, trying to calm my nerves. But the longer I try to convince myself that that's all this is, the more I don't believe it. Yeah, right. Pulling into his driveway, I'm taken aback by how inviting his house looks. It's a charming 2-story with a well-kept garden and a porch that practically begs for summer evenings and lemonade. It doesn't scream bachelor pad. It screams family man. The kind of place where memories are made. Maybe he really has changed. I take a deep breath, smooth my skirt, and head to the door. Before I can knock, it swings open. Bryn, you made it, Quincy says, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Surprised I didn't get lost, huh? I tease, trying to mask my nerves. Not at all. You've always had a good sense of direction. He steps aside, gesturing for me to come in. Make yourself at home. I step inside, the scent of roasted garlic and herbs filling the air. The living room opens up to a dining area, where a table is set with candles, wine, and a spread that looks straight out of a cooking show. Wow, Quincy, you really went all out for a business meeting, I say, genuinely impressed, yet reserved. He shrugs, a playful grin tugging at his lips. Thought you might appreciate a good meal after a long day. Plus, I remember how much you love Italian. I laugh, the sound surprising me. You remembered my favorite cuisine? I'm shocked. I remember more than you think. His voice softens, and for a moment our eyes lock, a silent understanding passing between us. I break the gaze, walking towards the table. This looks amazing. You didn't have to go through all this trouble. It's no trouble, he says, pulling out a chair for me. Besides, I feel like I owe you another celebration for selling out your exhibition. I sit down, smoothing my skirt again. I'm still in disbelief about it. He pours wine into my glass, then his. I don't see why it's so hard to believe. Your work is incredible. We toast, and the clinking of glasses feels like a fragile bridge between past and present. I sip my wine, letting the rich flavors dance on my tongue before setting the glass down. All right, let's talk business, I say, straightening in my chair. What percentage are we looking at here? Quincy leans back, eyes narrowing slightly as he considers. I was thinking 20% commission for the gallery, standard rate. I nod, swirling the wine in my glass. Sounds fair? And what about the promotion and marketing expenses? Are those included in the commission or are they separate? Separate, he replies smoothly. But we can cap it at 5% of the sales price. Keeps everything transparent. I appreciate his straightforwardness. Deal. And what about the contract duration? How long are we talking? He tilts his head, studying me. I was thinking a year with an option to renew. Gives us both some flexibility. Perfect, I say, feeling a sense of relief. And the payment terms? Net 30, he says without hesitation. You'll get paid within 30 days of each sale. I smile, feeling more at ease. All right then, looks like we have a deal. He raises his glass and we clink again. I'll have the contract drawn up and fax it over to my assistant. He'll make sure everything's in order. Fax? I raise an eyebrow, unable to suppress a smirk. What are we, in the 90s? He chuckles, shaking his head. You know what I mean. I'll email it to him. Old habits die hard. Clearly, I tease, taking another sip of wine. So your assistant, is he as efficient as you? Well, my assistant is Seth, Quincy admits with a grin. So you tell me if he strikes you as the efficient type? Seth? I shout, feeling a warm, familiar feeling. As in thick glasses, high waters, Seth? The image of a short, nerdy guy following in Quincy's shadow comes to mind. He stands, gathering the plates. That's him. Wow, that's crazy. How is he nowadays? She asks, generally curious. Over 6 feet and gets more ass than a toilet seat. I respond. I hear her choke as she sips her wine. I'll be right back, he says as I take a seat on the couch. I watch him disappear into the kitchen, the sounds of clinking dishes and running water filling the space. The tension that once wrapped around us like a vice seems to be loosening, replaced by something warmer, more genuine. As I sit here, I can't help but think about how different things might be if we'd never parted ways. Quincy returns from the kitchen, balancing a tray laden with a colorful array of fruits. He places it on the coffee table in front of the couch, and I can't help but admire the effort he's put into this evening. He sits beside me, the couch dipping slightly under his weight. Fruit? He asks, picking up a piece of mango and offering it to me. I take it, savoring the sweet, tangy taste. You really know how to spoil a girl, don't you? He chuckles, grabbing a grape for himself. Only the best for you. The candles flicker, casting warm shadows on the walls, and the scent of the meal still lingers in the air. He sighs, leaning back and resting his arm on the back of the couch, dangerously close to my shoulder. You know, Bryn, when you left for New York, I wanted to go with you. My heart skips a beat, but I keep my voice steady. But you said you couldn't. And that's the truth, I couldn't, he says, eyes meeting mine, a mix of regret and determination in them. But that doesn't mean I didn't want to. You know my parents. I just couldn't. The revelation hits me like a ton of bricks. I feel a mix of anger and sadness boiling up inside me. Quincy's family had that much control over our lives? The idea makes my stomach churn. So they just blackmailed you into staying? I ask, my voice sharper than I intended. He nods, looking genuinely remorseful. Yeah, they made it clear I'd be cut off completely. No support, no inheritance, nothing. At 18, that was terrifying. I shake my head, trying to wrap my mind around it. But why didn't you tell me? We could have figured something out together. Quincy sighs, running a hand through his hair. I thought I was protecting you. I didn't want you to feel like you had to choose between your dreams and me, because I knew you'd choose me, and I didn't want to spend the rest of our lives feeling like I was holding you back. I wish you would have told me that back then. You made me feel like I wasn't worth fighting for, I say quietly. He flinches at my words, and I can see the pain in his eyes. I know, and I've regretted it every day since. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. All this time I thought you didn't care, that you chose them over us. I had no idea you were suffering too. I was, he says softly. Every single day, but I didn't know how to fix it. By the time I realized how wrong I was, you were already making your mark on New York. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of his confession hanging between us. Despite the pain, there's a strange sense of relief too. At least now I understand. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Pride, I guess, he admits. And fear. I didn't want to reopen old wounds, but seeing you again, I couldn't keep it from you any longer. I look into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there. It's like a bandage has been ripped off, exposing an old wound that's finally starting to heal. I don't know what to say, I murmur. I'm angry, but I also get it. We were just kids, and they put you in an impossible situation. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he says quickly. I just wanted you to know the truth. I nod slowly, my mind racing. Thank you for telling me. It doesn't make the past hurt any less, but it helps to understand. He reaches out, taking my hand in his. The warmth of his touch sends a shiver down my spine. I just want a chance to make things right, Bryn, even if it's just as friends. I take a deep breath, my heart pounding. I never really got over you. The words hang in the air, heavy and raw. He looks at me, his blue eyes piercing through the dim light. Same here, not for a damn second. The air between us crackles, charged with years of unspoken feelings. Before I can think, he moves closer, his hand still holding mine, his thumb gently stroking my skin. I can't help but smile, a mix of relief and anticipation bubbling up inside me. Well, that's a relief. I was worried I was the only one stuck in the past. He chuckles softly, the sound sending a shiver down my spine. You're not alone. Trust me. His gaze drops to my lips, and I feel my breath hitch. The room feels suddenly smaller, the distance between us shrinking by the second. I lean in, unable to resist the pull any longer. His lips meet mine, tentative at first, as if we're both testing the waters. But the moment our mouths touch, it's like a dam breaks. The kiss deepens, and I feel his hand move to the back of my neck, pulling me closer. I respond in kind, my hands sliding up his chest, feeling the warmth of his skin through his shirt. He tastes like wine and memories, and I lose myself in the sensation. God, I've missed this, he murmurs against my lips, his voice rough with emotion. Me too, I whisper, my hands tangling in his hair. He pulls back just enough to look into my eyes. Bryn, are you sure about this? I don't want to rush you. I nod, my heart racing. I'm sure. I've never been more sure.
Chapter 8. Quincy. Bryn's words ring in my head. I'm sure I've never been more sure. That's all my brain, and my pants for that matter, need for validation. I stand up from the couch and reach for Bryn's hand. Her fingers slip into mine, warm and familiar. Guiding her down the hall, I push open the door to my bedroom. Wow, Quincy, she says, eyes wide as she takes in the room. This is beautiful. The walls are adorned with pieces from local artists, a kaleidoscope of colors and styles that reflect my life here. I can't help but feel a sense of pride seeing her appreciate it. Not as beautiful as you, I say, pulling her closer. My hands move to the buttons of her blouse, fingers brushing the soft fabric. She laughs softly, a sound that sends a thrill through me. You always did have a way with words. And you always knew how to make me lose mine, I reply, sliding the blouse off her shoulders. Her skin glows in the soft light, and I can't tear my eyes away. Still the charmer, she murmurs, her hands finding the hem of my shirt. She tugs it upward, and I lift my arms to help her. The shirt joins her blouse on the floor. Still so damn beautiful, I whisper, leaning in to kiss her neck. She tilts her head, giving me better access, and I take full advantage, trailing kisses down to her collarbone. Quincy, she breathes, her voice a mix of desire and something deeper. Is this real? I pause, looking into her eyes. Yes, Bryn, it's real. She reaches up, cupping my face. Then it's about time. Let's not waste any more of it. Thanks for reading, fans. Unfortunately, this portion of the chapter is too hot for YouTube to handle. Head on over to tylawalker.com and use code SAVE40 for a fantastic deal on this and other unabridged content. Now, back to our story. You won't know what hit you, baby. I'm going to take you, break you, and make you mine. And when I'm done, you're...
Now hold on just a minute.
What?
I got something to say.
What's the meaning of this?
Now you may be some fine-looking white boy.
Got that right, baby. It takes hard work.
And you might got the money.
Fat stacks, baby, to spoil you with.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to give it up to you without a fight.
A fight?
You want some limp wilting flowers? Go to historical romance, baby. But you want sassy and spicy strong black queens that tame their alpha male bad boys?
I think our listeners do.
Then you go on and look at Miss Tyla's Bougie Brides and Billionaires audio bundle.
50 hours of me whispering the most romantic things in your ears. Fake marriages, alpha male billionaires, strong black women, steamy scenes that will make your eyes roll back. Everything wrapped up in a happily ever after that will put you in an afterglow.
Use code SAVE40 to get 40% off this bundle and any other digital product in Miss Tyla's store.
Unabridged and uncut.
Just like you?
You're gonna have to find out.
Tyla Walker Romances. Escape your life with sassy romance. Chapter 9. Bryn. Setting up my new space at the gallery feels like unpacking pieces of my soul. Each canvas, every sculpture, they all tell parts of my story. I'm arranging my latest painting when Quincy walks in again. It's the third time this week. Checking on the setup, huh? I tease, not looking up from my work. Just making sure everything's perfect for my favorite artist. He replies, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. I roll my eyes. If I didn't know better, I'd say you're just finding excuses to hang around. Can't a guy be thorough in his business? He strolls over, inspecting a piece of pottery like it's the most fascinating thing he's ever seen. You've inspected that same vase 3 times already. Quality control is a never-ending job, he says, grinning as he approaches me and his cologne invades my senses. I busy myself with adjusting the angle of a painting, anything to keep my hands from trembling at his closeness. You're still good at making me uncomfortable, I say, half joking. Just trying to keep things interesting, he replies, stepping closer. His presence is magnetic, drawing me in despite my best efforts to keep a safe distance. Well, mission accomplished, I mutter, finally turning to face him. Our eyes lock, and the tension between us crackles like static electricity. You know, he starts, his voice softer now. I never thought I'd see you again, let alone work with you. Yeah, life has a funny way of throwing curveballs, I say, trying to keep my tone light. But here we are. Here, let me help you, he says, taking one of the larger paintings out of my hand. Tell me when it's straight. That looks great, thank you. Maybe since you're here you could help me hang the rest of these. He nods. As we fall into a comfortable rhythm, working side by side, the tension between us remains, a constant undercurrent that neither of us can ignore. But for now, it's enough to be here, together, building something new. Throughout the following days, whispers trail me like a persistent shadow. In the grocery store, at the coffee shop, even at the gallery, I hear the murmurs and feel the eyes on my back. People talk. They always have, but now their gossip feels like a constant hum in my ear. Did you hear Bryn and Quincy are back together? I saw them at that old diner, looking cozy. Isn't she just after his money? It gnaws at me. I try to focus on my art, lose myself in the colors and textures, but the whispers slip through the cracks. Back at the gallery, I'm working on a new piece when a familiar voice startles me. Hey, Bryn. I look up to see Marcy, an old high school alum. Your perpetual mean girl everyone avoided. She's holding a cup of coffee and wearing a smile that's too bright. Marcy, hi, I reply, keeping my tone neutral. Heard you've been spending a lot of time with Quincy, she says, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. I roll my eyes. I'm doing great. Glad you are, I say with as much sarcasm as I can muster. But to answer your question, we're just working together. He's helping with my exhibit. Oh, I'm sure that's all it is, she says, her voice dripping with malice. But you know how people talk. People will always talk, Marcy. Doesn't mean they know anything or that you have to listen to what they're saying. She chuckles. Just looking out for you. You know how his family can be. I happened to overhear Mrs. Harper talking to Meredith down at the bank. Now, I can't be 100% she was talking about you, but for your sake, I hope she wasn't. I can't help but notice how my heart feels like it falls to my stomach. This is feeling a lot like déjà vu, and not the good kind. I appreciate the concern, I say, though my patience is wearing thin, but I can handle myself. Of course you can, she says, her tone patronizing. Just be careful, okay? Thanks for the advice, I reply, turning back to my work, effectively ending the conversation. She lingers for a moment before finally leaving. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. She's still such a bitch. Later that evening, Quincy calls. His voice is a balm to my frayed nerves. Hey, how's my favorite girl? He asks. Dealing with the local rumor mill, I reply, unable to keep the frustration out of my voice. Let me guess, he says. Marcy? Bingo. He sighs. I'm sorry. I know it's not easy. It's not your fault, I say, though the words feel hollow. But it's like everyone's watching us, waiting for us to mess up. Especially your parents. My parents? He responds in an incredulous voice. What have you heard about my parents? I can feel the tension inching into his voice. Well, nothing specific. Mary just said talking about someone pretty unfavorably down at the bank the other day, and Marcy just assumed it was me. Surely not. I feel like my mom would have come to me asking questions before she goes opening her mouth. I don't know, Quincy, I respond. Maybe this was a bad... Don't even say it, Bryn. I can hear the absolution in his voice. Let them watch if they're so hell-bent on it, he says, his voice firm. We know the truth. I smile. You always were good at seeing the bigger picture. Comes with the territory, he says. Hey, How about you meet me at the gallery tomorrow afternoon? I've got some marketing stuff I want your opinion on. I can do that. See you then, I reply. I hang up the phone and sink down into the oversized beanbag in my studio and begin sketching my next piece. When I arrive at the gallery, I sense something's up. The place is buzzing with activity when I arrive. Cameras, lights, reporters. It's like a small circus. What's going on? I ask, stepping through the door. Quincy strides over, looking every bit the confident gallery owner. I've got a surprise for you. A surprise? I glance around, spotting a local news anchor adjusting her mic. Quincy, what did you do? Relax, he says, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. I arranged a feature on the gallery and your new exhibition space. Thought it was time everyone knew just how talented you are. I blink, taken aback. You did this? For me? For us, he corrects. I'm tired of the rumors, tired of my family's bullcrap. This is me standing by you, publicly. Before I can respond, a reporter approaches, her smile professional but curious. Miss Cole, we're ready for the interview. Mind joining us? I glance at Quincy, who gives me a confident nod. Let's do this. We move to the center of the gallery, the reporter launching into her questions with practiced ease. Miss Cole, your work has taken the community by storm. Can you tell us what inspires you? I take a breath, trying to steady my nerves. My work is inspired by life's complexities, the highs, the lows, everything in between. Art is my way of making sense of it all. And how does it feel to be back in your hometown, sharing your talent with the community? It's surreal, I admit. There's a lot of history here for me, but it's also incredibly rewarding to see my work appreciated by the people I grew up with. The reporter turns to Quincy. Mr. Harper, you've been a strong advocate for Miss Cole's work. What drew you to her art? Quincy's eyes meet mine, and I see the sincerity in them. Bryn's art is raw, powerful, and deeply personal. It's impossible not to be moved by it. I've known her for years, and I've always believed in her talent. This gallery is just a platform to show the world what I've known all along. The reporter nods, clearly impressed. It sounds like you have a lot of faith in her. I do, he says, his voice unwavering. Bryn's work deserves to be seen, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it is. As the interview wraps up, I feel a mix of gratitude and awe. Quincy didn't just support me professionally. He made a statement to everyone. After the cameras pack up and the reporters leave, I find myself standing alone in the gallery, the weight of the day settling on my shoulders. Quincy approaches, his footsteps echoing in the now quiet space. Bryn, he says softly, I meant what I said out there. I turn to face him, the sincerity in his eyes nearly overwhelming. I know you did, Quincy, and it means more than you know. He steps closer, his gaze never leaving mine. You've got guts. Coming back here facing everyone, it takes a lot of courage. I let out a small laugh, though it's tinged with nerves. Courage or sheer stubbornness? Sometimes I can't tell the difference. Whatever it is, it's one of the things I admire most about you, he says, his voice earnest. You've always had this fire in you. It's inspiring. I blink, taken aback by his words. Inspiring? Me? Yes, you, he says, a small smile playing on his lips. You've faced so much, and yet here you are, standing strong. It's incredible. I look down, trying to process his words. I don't want to be defined by the past, by what people think they know about me. He nods, understanding clear in his eyes. And you shouldn't be. You're more than that. So much more. Thank you, I whisper, feeling a warmth spread through me. I've spent so long running from this place, from the memories. But maybe it's time to face them. He reaches out, gently lifting my chin so I'm looking at him again. You don't have to do it alone. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. The intensity in his gaze sends a shiver down my spine. Quincy, what if the town never accepts us? What if we're always under scrutiny? He shrugs, a confident grin spreading across his face. Then we'll show them what we're made of. I can't help but smile at his bravado. You make it sound so easy. It's not, he admits, his expression softening. But nothing worth having ever is, and you, Bryn, are worth it. His words wrap around me like a protective cloak, shielding me from the doubts and fears that have plagued me for so long. Maybe, just maybe, we can face this together.
Chapter 10. Quincy. Dinner at my parents' house always comes with an undercurrent of tension. Tonight, it's a full-blown storm. I can feel it brewing the moment I step through the grand entrance. The chandelier overhead casts a harsh light on my father's stern face and my mother's thin-lipped smile. "Quincy, darling," my mother says, her voice dripping with forced warmth. "So glad you could join us." "Of course, Mother," I reply, shrugging off my coat. "Wouldn't miss it." My father doesn't waste time on pleasantries. "We need to talk," he says, his tone leaving no room for debate. We move to the dining room, the long mahogany table set with our finest china. A charade of civility for what's about to go down. The moment we sit, my father's eyes narrow. I saw the news feature. Quite the spectacle. "Bryn's work deserved recognition," I say, meeting his gaze head-on. "She's talented." "Talent isn't the issue," my mother interjects, her fork hovering over her salad. "It's the implications. You know how people talk." "So let them," I snap, my patience wearing thin. "I'm proud of her." My father slams his fist on the table, rattling the silverware. "Damn it, Quincy. This isn't just about you. It's about our family's reputation, our business. I thought this was handled years ago." I lean back, crossing my arms. Our business? Or your control? And the only thing that happened years ago was you screwing up my entire life. "Watch your tone," he warns, his voice low and dangerous. "I'm done watching my tone," I say, feeling the familiar heat of anger rise. "I'm not a puppet for you to control." "She's not one of us," my father growls, as if that settles the matter. "Thank God for that," I mutter, pushing my chair back and standing up. "I'm tired of living by your rules. Bryn's is incredible and I'll support her, whether you approve or not." "Quincy, sit down," my mother pleads, her voice softer now, almost desperate. "We're just trying to protect you." "Protect me?" I laugh, the sound bitter. "From what? Happiness? Love? Was that your plan when you threatened to cut my inheritance if I followed her to New York?" "You're being reckless," my father insists. "You're risking everything for a distraction." "She's not a distraction," I say, my voice firm. "It's been 4 damn years. She's the only thing that's ever made sense." My father stands, his face a mask of fury. "You're throwing away everything we've built for some what?" I cut in, my tone icy. "Some woman who's beneath us? Is that it? Let's drop the pretense and say what you really mean." "You're being absurd," my mother says, her voice wavering. "This isn't about race." "Isn't it?" I fire back. "Or is it because she doesn't have a trust fund or a summer home in the Hamptons? Because she doesn't fit your picture of the perfect Harper partner?" My father's eyes narrow. "You've always had a rebellious streak, Quincy, but this is too far." "Rebellious?" I laugh, the sound bitter. Standing up for someone I love is rebellious? You know what's absurd? The fact that in 2024 you're still clinging to these archaic notions of class and status. She's just not right for you, my mother says, her voice pleading now. She'll only bring you down. Bring me down? I say, incredulous. She's the only person who's ever lifted me up. Made me feel like I could be more than just the sum of your expectations. My mother's eyes glisten with unshed tears. So you're choosing her over us? I'm choosing myself, I say, my voice soft but firm. And if you can't see that, then maybe you never really knew me at all. Quincy, my father starts, but I hold up a hand to stop him. No, I say, shaking my head. I'm done being what you want. I'm done pretending that your approval is the most important thing in my life. My father stands, wringing his hands. Quincy, we're telling you you need to make a choice. It's either her or us. I stare at them, disbelief flooding my veins. You're serious? As a heart attack, my father says, his tone leaving no room for doubt. You choose her, you're out. No more family support, no more inheritance. I laugh, the sound bitter. You think money's what this is about? We're just trying to save you, my mother says, her voice desperate, from doing something you will regret. The only thing I regret was letting you control my life for so long, I fire back. Bryn's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if you can't see that, then maybe I don't need your support. My father's face darkens. You're making a huge mistake, son. Maybe, I say, turning to leave, but at least it'll be my mistake. As I walk towards the doorway, my heart pounds in my chest. I know the road ahead won't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. I step out of my parents' house, the weight of their ultimatum heavy on my shoulders. The night air is crisp, a sharp contrast to the suffocating atmosphere inside. As I walk down the driveway, my phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out and see Bryn's name flashing on the screen. My heart skips a beat. Hey, I answer, trying to keep my voice steady. Quincy, are you okay? She asks, concern lacing her tone. You sound off. I chuckle, but it comes out hollow. Just had a lovely dinner with my folks. You know how it is. Did they say something about us? Her hesitation is palpable, and it twists my gut. Yeah, I admit. They weren't exactly thrilled about the news feature, or about us, for that matter. She's silent for a moment. I'm sorry, Quincy. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't cause anything, I say firmly. This is on them, not you. Besides, I'd rather be with you and face the fallout than live a lie. You really mean that? Her voice softens, a hint of hope breaking through. Damn right I do, I say, stopping in my tracks. You're worth more than any inheritance or family approval. I'm not losing you again. I'm so sorry. I wish things didn't have to be this damn hard, she says, emotion riddled behind her tone. None of this is your fault. I'll drop by the gallery tomorrow and fill you in. I sigh. Okay, please be careful going home, she says quietly. Always good night, Bryn. I end the call, sliding my phone back into my pocket. The weight of the conversation lingers, settling into my chest like an immovable stone. I glance back at the mansion, the silhouette of my parents framed in the window, a tableau of disappointment and stubborn pride. The choice I've made could cost me everything. Years of working under my father's thumb, playing the dutiful son, all of it teetering on the edge of collapse. But letting Bryn go again? Unthinkable. I make my way to my car, the sleek lines glinting under the streetlights. I get in, the leather seats creaking under my weight. As I grip the steering wheel, I can't help but think about the last time I drove away from this house with a decision that changed my life. Back then, it was to please them. Now it's to please myself.
Chapter 11. Bryn. Quincy arrives at the gallery. his expression a mix of determination and concern. "Hey, can we talk about last night?" he asks, his voice steady. I nod, my heart pounding. "Sure, I've been waiting for you." He looks around the gallery for spectators. There's a few people meandering the aisles browsing. "Let's go to my office," he says. He leads the way and I follow, trying to keep my emotions in check. Once inside, he closes the door and turns to face me. "I just want to say I'm sorry, Bryn," he starts, running a hand through his hair. "For all the drama my family's caused. Back then, now it's not fair to you." I lean against the desk, crossing my arms. "It's not, but it's not just your family, Quincy. It's this town. It's everything. Our history, the gossip, the expectations. It's hard." He steps closer, his eyes searching mine. "I know, and I hate that it's this complicated." "What did your family say last night, and don't lie to me?" I say, deflecting the hurt in my voice. He runs his hands through his hair, a habit I know occurs when he's nervous or dreading talking about something. His downcast eyes shoot up and meet me head on. "Basically the same crap they said 4 years ago. No inheritance, no job security, you know the whole spill." "Quincy, that's a big deal," I shout. "You're not 18 anymore. A decision this big could affect everything. I need you to know I'm committed to us. I don't care what the stakes are," he says with finality. "Committed?" I raise an eyebrow. "Your family practically declared war on me. Again. How do you think we can fight that?" He sighs, frustration etched on his face. "We fight it together. I won't let them control my life anymore. I chose you. I should have then, and damn it, I regret it every day of my life, but I choose you now." My heart does somersaults in my chest from the vulnerability etched on his face, but then my brain kicks in and reminds me that it's my responsibility to protect him. Words are easy, but we've been here before. I look away, the memories of our past heartbreak flooding back. What if it's not enough? He reaches out, gently lifting my chin so our eyes meet. "I won't pretend it's going to be easy, but I never got over you, and I never will." The sincerity in his eyes makes my resolve waver. "Neither did I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. But our love for each other didn't save us last time, did it?" "We're stronger now," he insists, his grip firm yet tender. "We know what's at stake, and I'm willing to fight for us. Are you?" His words hang in the air, heavy with meaning. I want to believe him, to trust that this time will be different. But the fear of history, repeating itself, lingers. I cannot stomach another heartache like the one I did back then. I won't survive it. I take a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. The warmth of Quincy's hand on my chin is both comforting and unsettling. "Quincy, I pause, searching for the right words. "I think maybe we need to take a step back." He frowns, his grip loosening. "A step back? What do you mean?" "It means," I start, swallowing hard, "that we need to figure things out, separately." His eyes darken with confusion and hurt. "Separately? Bryn, we just found each other again. Why would we pull away now?" I sigh, feeling the weight of my emotions pressing down on me. "Because I need to know if what we have is strong enough to survive this. I need to know if I can trust you, trust us, to not fall apart again. And I need to know if I can live with myself being the reason you lose everything." Quincy stares at me, hurt flashing in his blue eyes. "I don't get you. We have a chance after all these years and you want space?" He looks at me to say something, anything, but I can't bring myself to even open my mouth. He crosses his arms, frustration evident in his posture. "You realize how backwards that sounds, right?" We're supposed to be happy, not pulling away. I step closer, my voice softening. I'm not pulling away. I need to be sure, for both of us. His jaw tightens, and he looks away, shaking his head. It feels like you're pushing me away. That's not what I'm trying to do, I say, reaching out to touch his arm. I'm trying to protect us. Protect us from what? He snaps, his eyes locking onto mine. From being happy? From finally having a shot at making this work? From getting hurt again, I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. From repeating the same mistakes. He exhales sharply, running a hand through his hair. You're scared. I get that. Hell, I'm scared too. But we can't let fear dictate our lives. I'm not letting fear dictate anything, I counter, my frustration bubbling up. I'm being practical. We've both changed, and we need to make sure we're ready for this. Ready? He scoffs, his tone bitter. I've been ready since the day you left. I've been waiting for you. I look into his eyes, seeing the raw emotion there. It's tempting to just give in, to let ourselves fall back into the comfort of each other. But I know it's not that simple. I need time, I say, my voice firm. Just a little time to sort through everything. His eyes darken with anger. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? Again? I cross my arms, feeling the heat rise in my chest. I'm not walking away. I'm asking for time. There's a difference. Time? He scoffs. Time to do what? Overthink everything until you convince yourself this won't work? Convince yourself to let my parents win? I glare at him, my hands clenching into fists. You think I'm doing this lightly? This isn't easy for me either. Could have fooled me, he mutters, pacing the small office. You're so damn quick to run. I'm not running, I snap back. I'm being cautious. Cautious? He stops, turning to face me. Cautious is checking the weather before you go for a hike. This is... He gestures between us, frustration etched on his face. This is you putting up walls. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I'm not putting up walls. I'm trying to make sure we don't end up hurt again. He steps closer, his eyes boring into mine. And pushing me away is your solution? Brilliant. Just brilliant. I shake my head, feeling the sting of his words. You don't get it. You never did. Oh, I get it, he retorts, his voice rising. I get that you're scared, but guess what? So am I. Difference is, I'm willing to face it head on. And I'm not? I challenge, my voice trembling with emotion. No, you're not, he fires back. You're hiding behind this idea that time and space will magically fix everything. I need to protect myself, I say, my voice cracking. And what about protecting us? He demands, his frustration palpable. I look away, the weight of his words pressing down on me. I can't do this right now. Of course you can't, he mutters, turning away in exasperation. Typical Bryn. Always running when things get tough. That's not fair, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Life's not fair, he snaps, his tone bitter. But you don't see me running away. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. No, and that's the problem. I see you staying in place, just like you did back then. I'm taking time, Quincy, and that's final. He glares at me, his jaw tight. Fine. Take your damn time. But don't expect me to just sit around waiting again. Good, I retort, my voice firm. Because I didn't ask you then, and I don't plan to now. With that, I turn on my heel and storm out of the office, my heart pounding in my chest. The door slams shut behind me, the sound echoing in the empty gallery. I'm able to keep it together until I reach my car, and then I fall apart. I fall apart like a 3,000-year-old piece of art being pushed off a pedestal. Chapter 12. Bryn. I throw myself into my work, letting the colors and textures swallow me whole. My tiny studio has become my sanctuary, a place where the outside world doesn't exist, and my emotions flow through the brushstrokes. I spend most of my time here, seeing as I avoid the gallery as much as humanly possible in efforts of avoiding Quincy. Way to ruin your perfect business deal, Bryn. It's been radio silence since our big fight. Part of me wished that he would just show up and plead and make me change my mind, but I waited for that back then to no avail, and I refuse to do that now. Bryn, honey, you're going to ruin the canvas if you keep attacking it like that, Mama says, leaning against the doorway with a concerned look. I'm fine, I mutter, not looking up. The red paint on the canvas is starting to resemble a battlefield, and I can't seem to stop. Yeah, sure you are, she says, stepping closer. Want to talk about it? I shake my head, focusing on the way the bristles scrape against the fabric. Nothing to talk about. Uh-huh, she replies, crossing her arms. This have anything to do with a certain tall, brooding gallery owner? I pause, the brush hovering midair. Maybe, Mama chuckles softly. Thought so. You've been painting like a woman possessed since your visit with him at the gallery. It's complicated, I say, finally looking at her. Quincy and we've got a lot of baggage. Don't we all? She says, plopping down on a stool. I sigh, dipping the brush in water. You have no idea. Try me, she says, her tone softening. I've got all day. I lean back, the paintbrush slipping from my fingers. We were everything to each other once. Then life happened, and now, I don't know. Sounds like you need to figure out what you want, she says simply. What if I don't know? I ask, my voice small. Mama shrugs. Then paint until you do. You always tend to find the answers in your brush, but don't shut the people out who are trying to be there for you. I nod, feeling the weight of her words settle in. Thanks, Mama. Anytime, she says, standing up. Now, let's see what you've got so far. I turn the easel towards her, revealing the chaotic swirl of colors. It's a mess. It's raw, she corrects. And honest, keep going. I pick up the brush again, feeling a small smile tug at my lips. Yeah, I will. Mama leaves me to my thoughts, and I lose myself in the rhythm of painting. Each stroke is a release, a way to process the turmoil inside me. Hours pass, and the canvas begins to take shape, reflecting the storm of emotions I can't put into words. By the time I step back, exhausted and covered in paint, I see a reflection of my struggle in my heart. It's imperfect, but it's real. And maybe, just maybe, it's a step towards figuring out what I want. Quincy's face flashes in my mind, his words echoing in my ears. He's willing to fight for us, but am I? The question lingers as I clean up, the answer still out of reach. For now, I'll let the art speak for me. I stare at the painting, my hands covered in dried paint. The chaotic swirls of color seem to mock my indecision. Despite the mess of emotions, one thing is crystal clear. I can't imagine a future without him. The realization hits me like a bolt of lightning, and I feel a mix of relief and fear. Mama, I call out, walking into the living room where she's nestled on the couch with her knitting. She looks up, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. Yes, sugar? I plop down next to her, feeling like a teenager again. I just wanted to show you this piece now that it's finished. See what you think. Mama sets her knitting aside and turns to face me, fully looking at the canvas clutched in my hands. Baby, it's beautiful. Beautifully sad. Seems like you were bleeding through your paintbrush. I take a deep breath, willing away the tears. Do you love him? Mama asks quietly. Yeah, I do, I admit, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders just saying it out loud. Then what's stopping you? The fear that it'll all fall apart again. Everyone's against us, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Mama reaches out and takes my hand, her grip warm and reassuring. Bryn, life's full of risks, love especially. But it's also full of rewards. You've got to decide if he's worth the gamble, and no one else's opinions on your relationship should matter. I bite my lip, thinking about all the times Quincy and I have laughed, cried, and fought together. He is, but how do I know it's not just going to end in heartbreak again? You don't, she says simply. But you'll never know unless you try. You've always been strong. You can handle whatever comes your way. I nod, feeling a new resolve building inside me. I guess I just needed to hear that. Mama smiles, her eyes soft with understanding. Sometimes, following your heart is the bravest thing you can do. And I know you've got plenty of bravery in you. I squeeze her hand, feeling a rush of gratitude. Thanks, Mama. You always know what to say. Go get him, girl, she says with a wink. Don't let fear keep you from your happiness. I stand up, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. I'm gonna go find Quincy. You do that, she says, picking up her knitting again. And don't forget to tell him how you feel. Honesty is key. I nod, feeling a new sense of purpose. I won't. As I head out the door, my heart pounds with anticipation. It's time to face my fears and fight for the love I never stopped believing in.
Chapter 13. Quincy. Let's get this over with. The gravel crunches beneath my feet as I approach the family estate. The place reeks of old money and even older traditions. I've had enough. Pushing open the massive oak door, I find my parents in the drawing room as if they've been waiting for this showdown. Quincy, darling, my mother starts, her voice dripping with false sweetness. To what do we owe this surprise visit? After the other day, I didn't know you'd be back so soon. Cut the crap, Mother. I'm here to talk. My father sets down his newspaper, peering over his glasses. What is it, Quincy? Finally come to your senses about what you'll lose? Not at all, but actually it is about Bryn. I cross the room, standing tall. She is the woman I love, and I'm done letting you two dictate my life. I stand firm, feeling the weight of the moment. My parents exchange glances, but I cut them off before they can speak. Listen carefully. If you ever plan to be involved in my life, whether it's my wedding to Bryn or our future kids, you need to drop the bull and let me be happy. My mother's eyes narrow, her voice icy. Quincy, you're making a mistake. That woman has a name, Mother. It's Bryn, and she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. My father scoffs, shaking his head. You're blinded by infatuation. You'll regret this, Quincy, trust me. Regret spending the rest of my life with the woman I love? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. I think not. Mother's lips press into a thin line. We've always wanted what's best for you. No, I say, my voice steady. You've always wanted what's best for you. There's a difference. Father rises from his chair, crossing his arms. And what? You think this artist can give you what we can't? Yes, I say simply. She gives me love, respect, and happiness. Things money can't buy. Mother's voice wavers. You're throwing away your legacy. I'm building my own legacy, one that includes her, and until you learn to treat her with respect, you're as good as dead to me. The silence is deafening. My mother looks like she's been slapped, and my father's face turns an alarming shade of red. "You can't mean that," my mother whispers, tears brimming in her eyes. "I do," I say, my heart pounding. "I mean every word." Father steps forward, his jaw tight. "If you walk out that door, don't expect to come back." "Fine by me." I turn on my heel, heading for the door. Mother's voice stops me. "Quincy, please." "No more please, Mother. No more manipulation. This is my life, and I'm choosing Bryn." I walk out, the door slamming behind me. The air feels different, lighter, freer. I take a deep breath, letting it out slowly. I'm done being their puppet. Bryn deserves better. We deserve better. And I'm going to make sure we get it. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The door to Bryn's house swings open, and I'm greeted by her mother, Eliza. Her eyes narrow slightly, taking me in, but then she softens. "Quincy," she says, her voice warm. "What brings you here?" "I need to see Bryn. Is she home?" Eliza nods, stepping aside to let me in. "She was supposed to be out looking for you. But she messaged me a while ago. She's in her studio, hanging up her newest artwork. That girl always did prefer a canvas to a conversation." "Thanks, Eliza," I say, hesitating before heading towards the studio. "Any advice?" She gives me a knowing look. "Just be honest with her. That girl's got a heart of gold, but it's been bruised. Handle with care, Quincy." "I will," I promise, and head down the hallway. The door to the studio is slightly ajar. I push it open gently and step inside. Bryn has her back to me, working on hanging a large canvas. Her movements are fluid, almost hypnotic. "Bryn," I say softly. She spins around, paintbrush still in hand. "Quincy, what are you doing here? I've been looking everywhere for you. I finally gave up and came here. I needed to see you. Why were you looking for me?" Her eyes search mine, and I can see the mix of emotions. Surprise, curiosity, a hint of wariness. "You first." Because I need you to know that I talked to my parents. I've made my final decision, and they needed to know that they've lost their son." She sets the brush down. "What do you mean they've lost their son?" "I told them they needed to accept us, but they couldn't. So I made it clear that it's you. It's always been you. I told them I was okay with losing them and their money, because I was going to spend the rest of my life happy with the woman I love." Her eyes widen, and she takes a step back, as if needing space to process my words. "But they're your parents, Quincy. They wrote us off. They're dead to me." Her expression softens, but there's still a trace of doubt. "Are you sure? This isn't something you can just—" "I'm sure," I interrupt, stepping closer. "I love you, Bryn. I've never stopped, and I'm willing to fight for us no matter what it costs." She meets my gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I'm scared. Scared of getting hurt again. And I don't want you to resent me later on if you regret your decision. I won't regret it because I've regretted not doing it for years. I'm scared too," I admit, taking her hand. "But I'd rather face that fear with you than live without you. Listen to me," I say, holding her gaze firmly. "I've spent too long without you. Now that I have you back, no one's standing in our way. Not even you." She's silent, her eyes searching mine. I can see the conflict, the war between her heart and her head. "What if I'm not ready?" she whispers. "Then I'll wait, again. I know in the heat of our argument I told you I wouldn't, but I didn't mean it. I would wait for you forever," I say without hesitation. "Know this. I'm not going anywhere. You can push me away all you want, but I'll keep coming back." Her eyes soften and she takes a deep breath. "You're infuriating, you know that?" "I've been told," I say with a smirk. "But you love me anyway." She laughs, a sound that feels like coming home. "Yeah, I do. God help me, I do. I pull her into my arms, holding her tight. Then stop fighting it. Stop fighting us. We deserve this. After all this time, we deserve a happy ending. She buries her face in my chest, and I can feel her relax just a little. You're right, she murmurs. We do. I kiss the top of her head, breathing in the familiar scent of her. Damn right. I'm right. She pulls back slightly, looking up at me with those almond-shaped eyes that have always had a hold on me. Just promise me one thing, she says. What's that? The reason I was looking for you earlier, I was going to apologize for running again. I want you. I always have. I was coming to find you, to tell you I hoped you still felt the same way. Mama helped me realize what I wanted. Looks like I beat you to it. He laughs and gently kisses my lips. Let's go thank her.
Chapter 14. Bryn. Quincy and I sit in my bedroom after a heartfelt conversation with my mama. His words hang in the air, a sudden need for him washing over me. I reach out, grabbing his hand, the need to be close to him suddenly overwhelming. I guide him to the edge of my bed and sit him down, my heart pounding in my chest. Without a word, I reach for the hem of his shirt and pull it over his head. His skin is warm, his muscles taut under my touch. What are you doing, Bryn? He asks, eyes wide with surprise. I've got to have you, I say, my voice trembling with urgency. Baby, your mom is here, he says, glancing nervously toward the door. I look at my watch and then back at him. She is, but she's currently engrossed in house swap by this time. As long as you be a good boy and be quiet, she'll never know. His eyes darken with desire, and he lets out a low growl before his fingers move to the buttons of my overalls. He undoes them with a quick, practiced motion, and they fall to the floor, leaving me in my underwear and sports bra. You're so damn cute, he murmurs, his breath hot against my neck. I'm so damn yours, I whisper back, pulling him closer. His hands find their way to my waist, pulling me onto his lap. The heat between us is electric, every touch sending sparks through my skin. God, I've missed you, he says, his voice rough with emotion. Then show me, I mutter. He doesn't need any more encouragement. Our lovers are really heating things up, aren't they? What we can't show you here is now available on TylaWalker.com. Use code SAVE40 for great savings on some spicy details. Back to our story. We stay like this for a while, just holding each other, the weight of our past and the promise of our future hanging in the air. It's a moment of pure connection, a reminder of what we've always had and what we can have again. Finally, I move off his lap, my legs feeling a bit unsteady. Quincy stands, pulling up his pants and reaching for his shirt. I do the same, the silence between us comfortable, filled with unspoken words. As we finish dressing, I look at him, a smile tugging at my lips. So dinner? He chuckles, shaking his head. Always thinking about food? I shrug, grinning. Well, I worked up an appetite. He laughs, the sound warm and genuine. Come on, maybe I can sweet talk Eliza into making us something good. We head to the kitchen, our hands intertwined, the future suddenly feeling a lot brighter.
You think you can catch me? You think you can tame me?
Oh, I know I can. And you know it too, baby.
I gotta tell you, you're not the first to try.
But don't worry, baby. I'll be the last.
With sass like that, maybe I'll be the one that needs to tame you.
Let's cut to the chase, big boy. What you selling me?
Your appetite is big AF. I have just the thing that'll satisfy you.
Oh, really? And what's that?
Over 120 hours of romance audiobooks. Brought to you by Tyla Walker Romances in the Big AF audio bundle.
120 hours? That sounds amazing.
Your knees won't work afterwards if I do my job right.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, I can keep this promise. Because these audiobooks are unabridged with all the spicy scenes that will make you put your earbuds on. You know, Tyla can get freaky because she marked the bundle down by 69% for a limited time.
I can't wait to take this bundle for a ride.
Visit TylaWalker.com and get this audio bundle. Just don't start listening if you're going to be cooking dinner. Because you might just forget to feed your family.
TylaWalker.com. Escape your life with Tyla.
Chapter 15. Quincy. The morning light filters through the curtains, casting a soft glow over Bryn's face. Her hair fans out across the pillow, and I can't help but smile. Last night was everything. Eliza's cooking, our ridiculous paint fight, and then the intense makeout session that followed it. I could get used to this. I reach over to the nightstand, my phone blinking with a missed call. My father's name glares back at me, a reminder of the world outside this bubble. I listen to the voicemail, his voice dripping with that familiar condescension. Quincy, since you've decided to go against the family, we've cut off your cards and access to the family money. You're on your own. Great, I mutter, tossing the phone back on the nightstand. Bryn stirs, her eyes fluttering open. What's going on? Just my dad, doing what he does best. Control, I say, trying to keep my tone light. They've officially cut me off financially. She sits up, pulling the sheet around her. What? Are you serious? Dead serious. I lean back against the headboard, running a hand through my hair. Guess he wasn't just all talk after all. Her eyes widen, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the sheet. Quincy, this is all my fault. If I hadn't... Hey! I cut her off, reaching for her hand. This isn't on you. But they're cutting you off because of me. She pulls her hand away, pacing the room like a caged animal. What are you going to do? I lean back, arms behind my head, and give her a lazy grin. I have my gallery and I have you. The rest I can figure out. Figure out? She stops, staring at me like I've lost my mind. You've never had to live without money. You don't even know what that's like. I shrug, maintaining my calm demeanor. Maybe it's time I learn. Her shoulders slump, and she sits on the edge of the bed, head in her hands. I can't believe this. I feel so guilty. I sit up, moving closer to her. Guilty? For what? For being the best damn thing that ever happened to me? She lifts her head, eyes glassy with unshed tears. You're not even mad? Mad? Nah. I shake my head. Relieved, maybe. This means they can't control me anymore. And besides, I've got a plan. A plan? She raises an eyebrow, skepticism etched across her face. Yeah, a plan. I lean in, lowering my voice conspiratorially. You, me, this town. We're going to make it ours. She snorts, a half laugh escaping her lips. You're ridiculous. And you love it. I grin, pulling her into my lap. Listen, I've got savings, investments. I'm not as dependent on them as they think. She relaxes a bit, leaning against my chest. You're sure about this? Absolutely. I brush a curl away from her face. And I'm sure about us. This is just another hurdle. We've faced worse. She takes a deep breath, her fingers tracing patterns on my arm. Okay, we'll figure it out together. I pull her closer, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. So, what's our next move? I ask, my voice steady despite the storm brewing in my mind. She sighs, leaning her head on my shoulder. We need to be smart about this. No more blowing money. We need a plan. How about another art exhibition? I suggest, my fingers tracing lazy circles on her back. You've got a growing reputation. We can leverage that. She tilts her head, considering. It's not a bad idea. I grin, a wicked idea forming. Also, I sell the house. Bryn pulls back, her eyes wide. Sell the house? Are you serious? Dead serious, I say, smirking. My dad bought it, but it's in my name. Selling it would be the ultimate screw you to him, and the money would give us a solid start. She bites her lip, thinking it over. But where will you live? Truthfully, I haven't gotten that far thinking about it. I literally just came up with selling the house like less than a minute ago. I laugh. She doesn't find it too funny. This is serious, Quincy. This isn't like selling your car. I would sell my nuts before I sold my Camry. It's the ultimate family economy car, I say with a smirk. I'm then hit with a pillow upside the head. Be serious. Okay, I reply with my hands up in the air. There's an extra room at the gallery. I can crash there. Do you ever plan on showering? She asks matter-of-factly. Okay, so maybe this isn't the most solid plan. I shrug. I'll figure it out, I always do. She starts to pace again and turns to face me. Or you could move in with me and my mom, save on expenses and support her while we plan the event. I can't help the small smile that tugs at my lips. You'd let me live with you and your mom? Of course, she says, without hesitation. It makes sense. And besides, there may come a time when I need your help with her. I don't miss the sadness that floats in her eyes. I tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Well, count me in. Eliza makes a great pie. She laughs, the sound like music to my ears. All right, let's do it. We'll move in with Mom, but you have to promise me one thing. Anything, I say, brushing a kiss on her forehead. Promise me you won't regret it. This is a big change. I don't want you to resent me for it later. I take her face in my hands, looking straight into those deep, soulful eyes. Bryn, the only thing I regret is not fighting for us sooner. I'm all in. No regrets. She nods, her smile growing. Okay, let's do this. I lean in, capturing her lips in a kiss that's equal parts promise and passion. When we finally break apart, I can see the determination in her eyes. First step, I say, getting out of bed and pulling on some clothes. We talk to a realtor. Then we start taking some stuff over to your mom's. Then we start planning your next exhibition. And we make it bigger and better than ever. Deal, she replies with a bright smile. We pull up to Bryn's mom's house and walk up the steps to the front door, the scent of freshly baked pie wafting through the open windows. Eliza opens the door before we even knock, her smile as warm as the sun. Well, look who's here, she exclaims, pulling Bryn into a tight hug. My baby and my new roomie. Hey, Mrs. Cole, I say, grinning. Thank you for this, I really appreciate it. Anytime, sweetheart, she replies, patting my cheek. Come on in. I've got dinner ready. As we step inside, the familiar aroma of Eliza's cooking hits me, and my stomach growls in appreciation. Bryn shoots me a look, half amused, half exasperated. Could you be any more obvious? She teases. Hey, a man's gotta eat, I retort, giving her a playful nudge. Eliza leads us to the dining room where a feast fit for a king awaits. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, greens, and that pie I smelled earlier. Eliza, you've outdone yourself, I say, taking a seat. Seriously, this looks amazing. Just a little something to welcome you home, Quincy, she says, waving off the compliment. Now dig in. We don't need to be told twice. As we eat, the conversation flows easily, punctuated by laughter and stories of the old days. It feels right, being here with Bryn and her mom, like what a family is supposed to feel like. So, Eliza says, fixing us both with a knowing look. You two are really doing this, huh? Yeah, Mama, Bryn says, squeezing my hand under the table. We're in this together. Damn straight, I add, giving her a reassuring nod. We're a team. Eliza beams at us, her eyes glistening. I'm so proud of you both. It takes guts to stand up to your family like that. It's worth it, I say, looking at Bryn. She's worth it. Her eyes soften and she leans in, her lips brushing my ear. You're such a sap. And you love it, I whisper back, kissing her temple. After dinner, we start unpacking our things. Bryn takes charge, directing me where to put stuff while she organizes. It's a chaotic dance, but we move in sync, like we've been doing this forever. Hey, careful with that, she says, pointing to a box of her art supplies I'm moving to the hall closet. Those are my babies. Yes, ma'am, I reply, giving her a mock salute. Don't ma'am me, she retorts, but there's a smile tugging at her lips. As we settle into our new space, I can't help but feel a sense of peace. This is where we're meant to be, together, facing whatever comes next. All done, Bryn says, collapsing onto the couch. I can't believe we did it. I sit beside her, pulling her close. Told you we could. She snuggles into my side, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest. I'm glad you're here. Me too, I say, kissing the top of her head. Well, now on to the next step of our plan. Planning for the exhibition has us both running around like headless chickens, but there's a rhythm to our chaos that feels right. Bryn's sorting through her canvases, deciding which ones deserve the prime spots. I'm handling logistics, calling in favors and making sure every detail is perfect. Quincy, do you think this piece should go by the entrance or closer to the center? She holds up a vibrant painting, her eyes scanning the room. Entrance, I say without missing a beat. It's bold, grabs attention, like you. She rolls her eyes but smiles. Flattery will get you everywhere, Harper. Good to know, I reply, smirking. Speaking of grabbing attention, we need media coverage. I've called in some contacts. Her brows knit together. Media? Quincy, I don't want this to turn into a circus. Trust me, it won't, I assure her. We need the exposure. And it's not just about the exhibition. It's about us. She tilts her head, studying me. Us? Yeah, us. I step closer, lowering my voice. I want my parents to see us together, successful. Let them see that I'm doing just fine without them. Her eyes soften and she places a hand on my chest. You're really serious about this, aren't you? As a heart attack, I say, covering her hand with mine. She sighs, a mix of exasperation and affection. All right, media, it is. But if they ask stupid questions, I'm blaming you. Deal. I chuckle, pressing a quick kiss to her forehead. Now let's get back to work. As the day goes on, we fall into an easy rhythm. She adjusts her paintings while I handle the technical side of things. There's a constant hum of activity, but amidst it all, we find moments to steal glances, share a laugh, and remind each other why we're doing this. Chapter 16, Quincy. Bryn and I continue to throw ourselves into planning for the exhibition. Her artistic flair and my knack for business make for a surprisingly effective team. I catch her eyeing a blank wall, tapping her chin in that adorable way she does when she's deep in thought. What about putting your abstract series here? I suggest, pointing to the spot. It'll be the first thing people see when they walk in. Bryn tilts her head, considering it. You might be onto something. I think so, I say, moving closer. We want people to be hooked from the moment they step inside. She flashes me a smile. You've got a good eye for this, Quincy. I try, I reply as I wink at her. As we continue to brainstorm themes for the exhibition, she suddenly stops, a spark in her eyes. Whoa, what if we focus on resilience and community? I raise an eyebrow. Go on. Elaborate. We could showcase not just my work, but also pieces from local artists. Make it a celebration of diversity and creativity. Reflect our journey and the values we stand for. I nod slowly, feeling the idea take root. I like it. It's meaningful, and it'll definitely resonate with people. Her enthusiasm is infectious. I can start reaching out to local artists. We can have a mix of paintings, sculptures, and maybe some interactive installations. I pull out my phone. I can handle the logistics. Let's make sure we have enough space and resources to accommodate everyone. We spend the next few hours mapping out the gallery, deciding which pieces will go where. Her excitement is palpable, and I can't help but feel a surge of pride. This is her element, and she's thriving. Think we can pull this off in time? She asks, a hint of doubt creeping into her voice. I give her a reassuring smile. Absolutely. We've got this. The weeks leading up to the exhibition are a whirlwind. We face more hurdles than an Olympic athlete, but we keep pushing forward. Did you call the sponsors? Bryn asks, her eyes darting over a checklist longer than a CVS receipt. Yep, I say, jotting down notes. All 3 confirmed, but we need more. We're still short. She sighs, running a hand through her hair. What about local businesses? I smirk. Already working on it. Mr. Patel from the deli said he'd pitch in. She chuckles, but the stress lines don't fade. And the budget? I grimace. Tighter than your high school jeans, but we'll manage. We just need to get creative. We've got creativity in spades, she says, rolling her eyes. How about we sell pre-event tickets? Give people a sneak peek. Genius, I say, nodding. We could offer a VIP tour with the artists. People love feeling exclusive. She brightens up. I'll start designing the tickets. You handle the promotion. Consider it done, I say, already drafting a social media post in my head. The local community surprises us with their generosity. Mrs. Jenkins, the florist, donates centerpieces. The high school art club volunteers to help with setup. Even the town mayor stops by to offer his support. As the date of the exhibition approaches, we watch the gallery transform completely. Paintings and sculptures from the local artists fill the space, each piece telling a story of resilience and community. Bryn and I work late into the night, fueled by coffee and determination. Remember when we used to pull all-nighters in high school? I ask, adjusting a spotlight. She laughs. Yeah, but back then it was for cramming, not curating. Same level of stress, though, I say, stepping back to admire our handiwork. But this is worth it. She looks at me, her eyes softening. Yeah, it is. We share a moment of quiet satisfaction, the weight of our efforts settling around us like a comforting blanket. Despite the challenges, we've made it this far. And we're not stopping now. Hey, I say, breaking the silence. You ever think we'd be here? Together, doing this? She shrugs, a small smile playing on her lips. Life's full of surprises. I grin. Yeah, but some surprises are worth the wait. As we continue working, I can't help but feel a sense of pride and anticipation. This exhibition is more than just an event. It's a testament to our resilience, our community, and most importantly, our partnership. Living with Eliza has been surprisingly smooth. The woman's a force of nature, warm, sharp as a tack, and with a wit that could cut glass. Each morning she greets us with a smile and a fresh pot of coffee despite her health challenges. It's become a little ritual. Eliza, you're spoiling us, I say, inhaling the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Oh, hush, she replies, waving a hand dismissively. You two need all the energy you can get for that gallery. Bryn chuckles, stirring her own cup. She's right. We've got a lot to do today. We fall into a comfortable rhythm. Mornings are spent strategizing over breakfast, afternoons at the gallery, and evenings unwinding with Eliza. It's in these quiet moments that I realize how much Bryn means to me. Remember when you used to paint in the park? I ask Bryn one evening as we sit on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. She nods, a smile tugging at her lips. Yeah, I do. You'd always show up with some fast food. What can I say? I know how to woo a lady, I tease, earning a playful swat on the arm. Eliza chimes in from her chair. You two were quite the pair. Still are, if you ask me. Bryn blushes, but there's a warmth in her eyes that wasn't there before. We share a look, one that speaks volumes. The following days are filled with small victories. Securing a last-minute sponsor, finalizing the gallery layout, or simply managing to get through a particularly chaotic day without losing our minds. Each success feels like a step forward, a testament to our resilience. One night, after another long day, we collapse onto the couch, exhaustion mingling with satisfaction. "You know," I say, turning to her, "I couldn't have done this without you." Bryn rests her head on my shoulder. "Same here, Quincy. Same here." We sit in the quiet, the weight of the day slipping away. In these moments, I'm reminded of why I fought so hard to get back to her. It's not just about the past or the unresolved feelings. It's about the future we're building together, one small victory at a time.
Chapter 17, Bryn. I can't believe we're finally here, I say as I wrap my arm around Quincy. It's been a long time coming, but everything looks amazing. I'm so proud of you, he responds, kissing the top of my head. The gallery buzzes with energy. My pieces, each one a slice of my soul, line the walls, telling our tangled story. Quincy's presence, his hand never leaving the small of my back, keeps me grounded. The other local artists' works blend seamlessly, creating a tapestry of resilience and hope. Looks like everyone is enjoying themselves, Quincy murmurs, leaning close again. I nod, my eyes scanning the crowd. I'm still in shock that we pulled this off. Never doubted it for a second. His voice is firm, reassuring. A familiar face appears, one of the local artists. "Bryn, your work is stunning. Thanks for including mine." "Are you kidding? Your piece on community is breathtaking," I reply, genuinely touched. Quincy chimes in. "She's right. You've got a talent for capturing the essence of this town." The artist beams. Moving on to greet another guest, Quincy and I exchange a glance. The unspoken connection between us electric. I spot the mayor in the crowd, nodding appreciatively at one of my paintings. A live band plays a jazzy tune in the corner, adding a festive air to the evening. Tables are set up with food and drinks, and interactive displays invite guests to leave their own marks on blank canvases. "This is incredible," I say, turning to Quincy again. "I never expected such a turnout." He grins, eyes twinkling. "Told you this town loves you and your art." "Yeah, but this is something else," I reply, scanning the room. Even the mayor showed up. "Small towns, big hearts," he says, taking a sip of his champagne. "And maybe a little push from someone with connections." I elbow him playfully. "You pulling strings behind the scenes?" He shrugs, not bothering to hide his smirk. "Maybe. Or maybe people just appreciate genuine talent." I roll my eyes, but can't help smiling. "Always the charmer." "Only for you," he says, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. "You deserve this, Brenny." A group of teenagers approaches, interrupting the moment. "Miss Harper, can we ask you some questions for our school paper?" one of them asks, holding up a notepad. "Of course," I say. "Fire away." As I answer their questions, I catch Quincy out of the corner of my eye, talking to a local journalist. His posture is relaxed but commanding, his every move exuding confidence. Once the kids are satisfied, I rejoin him. "Making friends with the press?" I tease. "Just doing my part to keep the spotlight on you," he replies, his hand finding mine. We're interrupted again, this time by an older woman who looks vaguely familiar. "Bryn, it's been years. You probably don't remember me, but I used to babysit you." "Mrs. Talbot." "Of course I remember you," I exclaim, genuinely surprised and touched. "Thank you so much for coming." She beams, patting my hand. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I always knew you would go places with your art. All those drawings that used to litter my refrigerator. I should try and find some I'd saved and get you to sign them. Thank you, I say, feeling a lump form in my throat. That means a lot. I'd love to. As the evening continues, the positive energy in the room is palpable. People engage with the art, the music, and each other, creating a sense of community that's both humbling and exhilarating. Quincy pulls me aside again, this time to a quieter corner. Look around. This is all you. It's us, I correct, squeezing his hand. I couldn't have done this without you. He leans in, his voice a low rumble. We make a damn good team, don't we? I nod, feeling a warmth spread through me that has nothing to do with the champagne. The best. Ready to take a victory lap? I laugh. Absolutely. Lead the way. Together we weave through the crowd, receiving congratulations and well wishes. When we're done with our lap, Quincy steps onto the small stage set up at the back of the gallery, a confident smile on his face. He taps the microphone, causing a brief screech of feedback that makes everyone wince. He raises a hand in apology. Good evening, everyone, he begins, his voice filling the room. First off, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Your support means the world to us. He pauses, scanning the crowd. This exhibition isn't just about showcasing incredible art. It's about unity, understanding, and the strength of community. Bryn and I have faced our fair share of challenges, but standing here tonight, surrounded by all of you, reminds us that we're never truly alone. I watch him, my heart swelling with pride. He's always had a way with words, a way of making people feel seen and valued. Bryn's art is a testament to resilience and love, he continues, his gaze finding mine. Our journey hasn't been easy, but it's shaped us into who we are today, and for that, I'm grateful. He steps aside, gesturing for me to join him. The applause is warm, encouraging. I take a deep breath and step forward, the weight of the moment settling on my shoulders. Thank you, Quincy, I say, my voice steady despite the butterflies in my stomach. And thank you all for being here. This exhibition is incredibly personal to me. Each piece represents a part of my journey, both as an artist and as a person. I glance around the room, seeing familiar faces and strangers alike. Growing up in this town, I always felt a deep connection to it. Even when I moved to New York, a part of me never really left. This community has shaped me, and I'm so grateful for the love and support you've all shown. I feel Quincy's hand on my back again, a silent show of support. Our love story is woven into these paintings. The highs, the lows, the moments of doubt, and the moments of pure joy. Art has always been my way of processing the world, and this exhibition is no different. The room is silent, every eye on us. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of their attention. I hope that when you look at these pieces, you see more than just art. I hope you see the story of two people who fought for each other, who fought for love, and who found their way back to each other. The applause is thunderous, filling the room with warmth. Quincy pulls me into a hug, his embrace strong and reassuring. As we step off the stage, the crowd parts, offering congratulations and words of encouragement. Well said, Quincy whispers in my ear, his breath warm against my skin. The local news crew is a whirlwind of activity, setting up their cameras and microphones in the gallery. We stand side by side, the hum of the crowd a comforting backdrop. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. Ready for your close-up? He teases, his hand resting on my lower back. As ready as I'll ever be, I reply, giving him a sidelong glance. The reporter approaches, her smile bright and genuine. Bryn, Quincy, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. This event has created quite a buzz in the community. Thank you for being here, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. The interview starts with the usual questions about my art and the inspiration behind the exhibition. Quincy jumps in seamlessly, his business acumen complementing my artistic vision. We bounce off each other, our dynamic evident even to the casual observer. And Quincy, the reporter turns to him. Your support has been instrumental. Can you tell us about your decision to stand by Bryn publicly? His gaze shifts to me, his expression softening. Bryn's work speaks for itself. She's incredibly talented and has always had a deep connection to this community. Supporting her was an easy decision. It's about more than just art. It's about resilience, love, and the strength of our town. The reporter nods, clearly impressed. It's wonderful to see such a strong partnership. How do you see your roles evolving in the community, moving forward? I jump in, feeling a surge of confidence. We want to continue fostering creativity and unity. This gallery isn't just about showcasing my work. It's about providing a platform for other local artists, celebrating our diverse stories, and bringing people together. The reporter smiles, wrapping up the interview. Thank you both. Your story is truly inspiring. As the camera crew packs up, Quincy pulls me close. You were amazing. Right back at you, I say, feeling a warmth spread through me. Think they'll air the part where I almost tripped over that cable? He laughs, the sound rich and genuine. If they do, it'll just add to your charm. We mingle with the guests, the positive energy in the room palpable. I catch snippets of conversations, people praising the event and expressing their admiration for our efforts. Bryn, this is fantastic, a woman says, approaching me with a wide smile. The whole town's talking about it. Thank you, I reply, genuinely touched. It means a lot to hear that. Quincy joins us, his presence commanding yet comforting. We're just getting started. There's so much more we want to do. The woman nods, clearly impressed. I can't wait to see what you two accomplish next. As the night winds down, I take a moment to step back and absorb everything. The gallery, the art, the people. It all feels surreal. Quincy's hand finds mine. Pretty incredible, huh? He says, his voice low. Incredible doesn't even begin to cover it, I reply, leaning into him. We stand, taking in the scene, our journey laid out before us in every brushstroke and every smiling face. It's a moment of pure, unfiltered joy, and I know without a doubt that we're exactly where we're meant to be. As the last guests trickle out, I take a deep breath, surveying the room. The gallery, my art, the people, it all feels surreal. Quincy catches my eye, his expression softening. Ready to call it a night? Almost, I say, a smile tugging at my lips. Just one more thing. I reach up and bring his face down to mine as I give him the softest of kisses. I will never forget this, I say, my voice barely above a whisper as I pull away. Me either, he adds, his hand finding mine. We stand together, lost in the memory, the gallery around us a testament to our journey. It's a moment of pure, unfiltered joy, and I know, without a doubt, that we're exactly where we're meant to be. Chapter 18. Bryn. The sun's barely up when Quincy and I reach the gallery, the morning light casting long shadows on the sidewalk. I forgo the opportunity to stop and get some breakfast and coffee, and I'm sure I'll be regretting that decision within the next hour. I fumble with the keys, eager to start packing up all the sold pieces. Bet you never thought you'd be a shipping clerk, I joke, pushing the door open. "Hey, anything to keep you around?" he replies, flashing that infuriatingly charming smile. We step inside, and I reach for the interior lights and turn them on, and the sight before me hits me like a punch to the gut. Paintings slashed, sculptures shattered, frames splintered, everything destroyed. My breath catches, and I feel like I can't breathe. "Holy crap!" Quincy breathes, stepping forward. "Who the hell would did this?" I can't speak. My mind races, trying to process the scene before me, my art, the local artist's work, all ruined. Quincy grabs my arm gently, grounding me. "Bryn, look at me. We'll figure this out." I swallow hard, fighting back the tears. Why would anyone do this? We all worked so hard on these for it just... "Not everyone has other people's best interests at heart," he interrupts, scanning the room. "Some people are downright monsters." I walk over to a canvas, my favorite piece, now a mess of ripped fabric and smeared paint. "This took me months," I whisper, fingers trembling as I touch the tattered edges. I feel like the walls are closing in. My heart races, my breath shallow. I can't believe this is happening. "Quincy, what am I going to do?" My voice sounds small, foreign. He takes my shoulders, forcing me to meet his gaze. "First, breathe. We'll figure this out." "Figure this out?" I laugh, but it sounds more like a sob. "I've already sold these paintings. People paid good money for them. What am I supposed to tell them? Sorry, some heartless asshole decided to play Picasso with a knife?" Quincy steps back, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, let's think. Who bought the pieces?" "Collectors, mostly. A couple from the city. They're not going to be happy about this." "We can reach out, explain the situation, offer to refund or replace them." "Replace them?" I echo, looking around at the devastation. "Quincy, I can't just whip stuff up overnight. It took me months to create these." "I know, but we have to try something. Maybe some can be salvaged." I shake my head, kneeling to inspect one of the larger canvases. This one's a total loss. The paint is smeared, the canvas shredded beyond repair. And this one, God, look at it. It's ruined. "Bryn, we'll get through this. You're stronger than this." "Strong," I mutter, more to myself than to him. "I don't feel strong right now. I feel like I'm drowning." Quincy crouches beside me, his voice low and steady. "You've been through worse. We've been through worse. And we came out the other side. We'll come out of this too." I find the closet seat and sit down, putting my head in my hands, afraid that if I stand any longer, my legs will give way, considering the rug was just ripped out from under me. I hear footsteps and curses. I know Quincy is probably walking around, trying to find one salvageable item to try to make me feel a smidgen better. I don't have the heart to look up and observe his fruitless conquest. The footsteps stop, and the place becomes eerily quiet. "This wasn't random," he says, his voice low and controlled. I look up from hands and see him amongst the mess. "What do you mean?" He pockets his phone, his eyes dark with anger. No one is going to sabotage a freaking art gallery unless they have some kind of vendetta. I know exactly who did this. "Who?" My heart pounds in my chest, a mix of fear and anger swirling inside me. "My parents," he says. The words like a bitter pill. I stand up, the reality of his words hitting me like a freight train. "Your parents did this? Quincy, are you sure? This is a little extensive." He nods, a muscle in his jaw twitching. "They're trying to send us a message." "A message?" I repeat, incredulous. By destroying everything we've worked for, what these other people have worked for, this is insane. They're insane, he says, his voice edged with steel, and they'll stop at nothing to get what they want. I run a hand through my hair, trying to process the situation. So what do we do now? Quincy's eyes meet mine, fierce and determined. We fight back. We don't let them win. I take a deep breath, nodding slowly. Okay, but how? They've got all the power, the money, obviously the upper hand. Money isn't everything, he interrupts, his voice firm. We've got something they don't. We've got each other. A small, determined smile tugs at my lips. You're right. We've come too far to let them tear us apart now. He steps closer, his presence grounding me. We'll start by documenting everything. Get the police involved. They might have money, but they're not above the law. I nod, feeling a surge of resolve. Right. We'll make sure they're held accountable. Quincy's hand cups my cheek, his touch warm and reassuring. We'll get through this, Bryn. Together. I lean into his touch, drawing strength from his unwavering confidence. Together. I repeat, the word a promise. First step, he says, pulling out his phone again. I'm calling the police, right now. They'll need to see this. I watch as he dials, his voice steady as he reports the vandalism. Despite the chaos around us, I feel a glimmer of hope. We've faced worse and come out stronger. This is just another battle, and we're ready to fight. As he finishes the call, he turns to me, his eyes softening. You okay? I nod, a small smile playing on my lips. Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks to you. He wraps an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. Don't fret. One step at a time. I lean into him, feeling a sense of peace amidst the storm. One step at a time.
Chapter 19. Quincy. Glass crunches under my foot as I sweep up another pile of shattered frames. Bryn is on her knees, meticulously picking out bits of debris from a ruined canvas. The gallery smells of paint and plaster, mixed with the faint, acrid tang of sabotage. This is unbelievable, Bryn mutters, her voice tight with frustration. The more I look at all this, the sicker it makes me. I know, I reply, tossing the broom aside. But we're going to get it taken care of, baby. Try to relax. Before she can respond, the bell above the gallery door jingles. I look up, my heart sinking as my mother waltzes in, her designer heels clicking on the tile floor. She looks around, her eyes narrowing at the mess. Quincy, she says, her tone laced with feigned concern. I heard about the incident. Thought I'd stop by to see how you're holding up. Bryn stiffens, her eyes locking onto my mother with a mix of defiance and weariness. I step forward, positioning myself between them. You mean, you heard about the mess you and Dad caused? Mother raises an eyebrow, feigning innocence. Now, why would you assume we had anything to do with this? We're just concerned about you, dear. We told you something like this would happen if you stayed involved with her. Bryn stands up, dusting off her hands. Concerned? That's rich coming from someone who's never set foot in this gallery before today. My mother turns her icy gaze to Bryn. Miss Cole, I understand your position, but there's no need to be hostile. Bryn crosses her arms, standing her ground. Hostile? You don't know the half of it. Don't, Bryn. She isn't even worth it. I say, my voice echoing through the wrecked space. This isn't a social call, and we all know it. So, why are you really here, Mother? She sighs, as if burdened by the weight of her own falsehoods. Quincy, darling, I'm just worried about the choices you're making, This relationship, and now this destruction, she says as she looks around the gallery. Have you gotten involved with a gang or something for money? Gang involvement? Are you serious? I laugh, crossing my arms. This destruction? It's on you and Dad. Stop pretending you don't know that. There's no possible way you could have heard about this incident already unless you knew it happened because you were the one behind it. Mother's eyes widen, her lips forming a tight line. Quincy, watch your tone. We're only trying to protect you. We knew this would happen, and we just wanted to let you know we're here for you now that it's been proven. I laugh, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Proven? Is that what this was about? You wanted me to learn a lesson, huh? Learn what it's like when you don't get what you want? Bryn's eyes dart between us, her shoulders squared, ready to jump in. But this is my fight. You've controlled me my entire life. You made me choose between your money and my happiness. When I said I was done, I meant it. Your little act here, destroying Bryn's works, is not going to change the fact that I'm still not going to listen to you and Dad. Mother's expression shifts from feigned concern to steely determination. This thing has gone on long enough. Your father and I have tried giving you your space to come to your senses, but obviously that isn't happening with your little friend in your ear here. She eyes Bryn with disgust, and it takes everything I have not to throw her out of here. You can't just walk away from your responsibilities, from your family. I step closer, the distance between us shrinking along with my patience. Here's how it's going to go, Mother. Either you pay for the damages you caused, or Bryn and I are moving to New York. Permanently. And you'll never see or speak to me again. She gasps, her eyes flickering with a mix of shock and anger. Bryn grabs my arm, her fingers gripping tight. Quincy, don't. I gently shake her off, my gaze fixed on my mother. No, Bryn. This has gone on long enough. Mother scoffs, a disdainful laugh that echoes through the ruined gallery. You think you can just leave this all behind? Go ahead, Quincy. I dare you. Goodbye, Mother. Get off my property before I call the police. Her eyes widen, the disbelief clear. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. I shake my head. The only mistake I've made was listening to you in the first place all those years ago. Bryn steps forward, her voice softer but firm. Mrs. Harper, this isn't about you or your money. It's about respect and love, something you clearly don't understand. Mother narrows her eyes. And you think you can provide him with a better life? With your little art projects and idealistic dreams? I interject. Bryn's art is worth more than any of your shallow investments. And her dreams? They're what keep me going. Mother's lip curls in disdain. You're delusional. Both of you. I take Bryn's hand, feeling her warmth, her strength. We're not delusional. We're just free. She turns on her heel, her departure marked by the click of her heels. The door swings shut behind her, leaving a tense silence in her wake. Bryn exhales, her grip on my hand tightening. Are you okay? I nod, pulling her into a hug. Better than ever. She looks down, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest. I'm so proud of you for standing up to her. Thank you. It felt damn good, I admit, tilting her chin up to meet my gaze. She pulls back, looking up at me with those deep, expressive eyes. You know this isn't over, right? They won't just let it go. I smile, a determined glint in my eye. I know it's not, but they can try to do whatever they want. We're a force to be reckoned with. She laughs softly, the sound a balm to my frayed nerves. You're impossible. And you love it. She shakes her head, burying herself in my chest. I do. I really do. I kiss her hair and she lifts her head, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. You think we can really do this? I cup her face, my thumb brushing her cheek. Look around, baby. We've already started. Her lips curl into a small smile. You always did have a way of getting out of messes. And you always had a way of making me want to be a better man, I say, my voice low and sincere. I'm not going anywhere this time. She leans into me, resting her head against my chest. You better not. Because I don't think I could go through losing you again. You won't, I promise, pressing a kiss to her forehead. We'll make them regret ever trying to tear us apart. She sighs, a sound of relief and resolve. Okay. As we begin to clean up the wreckage again, side by side, I can't help but feel a sense of hope. This time, we're not just fighting for each other. We're fighting for a future we both believe in. And damn it, we're going to win.
Chapter 20. Bryn. Quincy wipes a smudge of grime off my nose, his touch sending a shiver down my spine despite the dirt and exhaustion. We should probably get home to check on Eliza, he says, his voice low and gravelly, worn from the long night. I nod, but my eyes are fixed on him. His shirt is unbuttoned at the top, revealing a sliver of his chest. I can't help but admire how he handled his mother earlier, standing up for us with such ferocity. It's a side of him I didn't see back in high school, and it's intoxicating. You're right, I say, taking a step closer. But first, let me thank you properly for today. He raises an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. Is that so? I don't answer with words. Instead, I reach out and start unbuttoning his shirt, my fingers brushing against his skin. He doesn't stop me. His eyes darken, watching my every move. You know, he says, his voice a rough whisper. We're both covered in grime. We could use a shower. I laugh softly, the sound almost foreign in the quiet, wrecked gallery. We definitely could, but I can't wait that long. He grabs my wrist, pulling me closer until our bodies are flush against each other. You're playing a dangerous game, Bryn. Am I? I challenge, my voice breathy as I continue to work on his buttons. Because it looks like you're just as eager. His hands move to my waist, sliding under my shirt. His touch sending sparks through me. You have no idea. I finally get the last button undone and push his shirt off his shoulders. It falls to the floor, forgotten. I run my hands over his chest, feeling the hard muscles beneath his skin. His breath hitches, and I smile. You're something else, he murmurs, his hands moving to my hips, pulling me even closer. You drive me crazy. Good, I whisper back, my lips brushing against his. Because you've been driving me crazy all day. He doesn't need any more encouragement. His mouth crashes onto mine, and the world fades away. It's just us, here in this ruined gallery, reclaiming something that was almost lost. Sorry, dear readers. This portion of the chapter is too hot for YouTube to handle. Head on over to tylawalker.com for all the glorious unabridged details that your heart can handle. Use code SAVE40 for a fabulous deal on a great story. On with the show.
This is it, baby. This is what you can get me that'll make me happy.
You know I'll get you whatever you want. All you need to do is ask me and I'll give it to you.
This ain't just it. This is everything I could ever want.
Now I'm curious. What does a strong, sassy woman like yourself want so badly?
Baby, you know what I want?
I can't wait to hear.
The Big Baddie Bundle from Tyla Walker. It has everything I need.
20 ebooks with over 1 million words of sassy romance and spice that'll keep you on your toes.
10 audiobooks containing over 60 hours of that seductive voice telling me naughty things all night long.
You don't need an audiobook for that, baby. right here.
You may be fine and all, but no one tells it like the way Miss Tyla does. And I need her in my life.
Big Baddie Bundle is everything you need. You can get it for 80% off.
Go to TylaWalker.com to browse the bundles that earn you the best deals.
It's time you treat yourself, because you deserve it.
Escape your life with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 21, Quincy. The city hums around us, a low symphony of distant sirens, honking cabs, and the steady rhythm of footsteps on the pavement. I stand on the balcony of our apartment, gazing out at the skyline. We've called New York City home for nearly a year now. It's a far cry from the small-town life we left behind, but it suits us. Or maybe it just suits her, and I'm happy wherever she is. "Quincy, have you seen my sketchbook?" Bryn calls from the living room, her voice a blend of urgency and mild frustration. I lean back inside, catching sight of her rummaging through a stack of papers. "Which one?" "You've got about 100. She pauses, throwing me a glare that could melt ice. "The blue one, with the leather cover." "Check under the couch cushions," I suggest, grinning. She huffs and continues her search. Moments later, she emerges victorious, sketchbook in hand. "It was in my yoga bag, you know, somewhere more practical than the couch cushions. I don't know why I even bother asking you. You always give me the most bizarre answers. That's why you keep me around, right? For my razor-sharp intellect and stunning good looks." "Something like that," she mutters, but there's a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Are you ready to go see Mom?" she asks while securing her sketchbook under her arm. "I'm waiting on a delivery, but as soon as it's here, we will go," I respond. Eliza lives across the street in an apartment complex. It's comforting knowing she's close, especially with her health still a bit shaky. Bryn insists on checking on her daily, which means I've become quite the expert on homemade remedies and afternoon tea rituals. Bryn had no idea how successful I'd become during our time apart. Frankly, neither did I until I started looking into it. My parents had absolutely no idea. They were stunned when the rumor mill at home supplied them with the information that we would be moving to New York. Selling the gallery was a move they never saw coming. I paid for Eliza's place and got her to see a top-notch doctor. All those tech investments from my younger days, they paid off big time. What else was I to do when I was stuck in place, heartbroken, pining over the beautiful woman in front of me, lacing up her shoes? The knock on the door signals the delivery. I rush to open the door, knowing Lance, the teenage boy I've paid to do my dirty work, has his hands full. "Hey man, come on in," I beckon to him. He comes so frequently I should probably just give him a key to the place. I step outside the door and pick up one of the crates overflowing with fruit. "Quincy, do you really think this is necessary?" Bryn eyes the delivery guy unloading yet another crate of organic groceries. I shrug, leaning against the kitchen island. "Hey, I promised your mom the best. Can't have her eating that processed junk." She raises an eyebrow. "You're single-handedly keeping the farmer's market in business." "Good. They should name a stall after me." She rolls her eyes but can't hide the smile. I tip Lance for his timely delivery and pack as much as I can in the tote to haul across the street. We step into Eliza's apartment, and it feels like walking into a warm hug. The space is modest but cozy, filled with sunlight filtering through the lace curtains. The faint scent of lavender wafts through the air, mingling with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Bryn's smile lights up the room as she sees her mother sitting in her favorite armchair, looking healthier than I've seen her in years. "Eliza, you're looking like $1,000,000, I say, placing the tote bag on the kitchen counter. Eliza chuckles, her eyes twinkling. "Save your sweet talk for my daughter. I'm too old for that sweet talking." Bryn moves to her mother's side. "Mama, he's right, you know. You do look amazing. I take it the acupuncture is working out well?" "Well, I have a good team looking after me," Eliza says, giving me a grateful nod. "And you know, I never thought I'd willing go somewhere and be stuck with needles, but Dr. Armstrong must possess some magic or something. I snicker and Bryn lets out a deep laugh. I will never tire of hearing. She stands and joins me in the kitchen, rummaging through the bag. Have I told you lately how much I appreciate you taking care of us? It's the least I can do, I reply, handing her a ripe mango. Besides, I have to keep my future mother-in-law in tip-top shape, don't I? Her eyes go wide at the mention of mother-in-law, and I can't help but smirk at her reaction. Eliza, however, nearly launches herself out of the recliner. Did I hear what I thought I heard? Eliza exclaims, her voice tinged with excitement. Mama, not so fast, she says, spinning around to face her. You nearly knocked the recliner over. Eliza's hand flies to her mouth, her eyes glistening with hope. Bryn turns back to me, and I see the mixture of curiosity and something softer in her eyes. Now or never, Harper. I drop to one knee, the hardwood floor hard against my knee, but I don't feel a thing except the rush of adrenaline. Bryn, I start, my voice steady but my heart pounding like a jackhammer. I've loved you since we were kids. You've always been the one, even when life pulled us apart. I've watched you grow into the most incredible woman, and I can't imagine my life without you. Her eyes well up, and she's staring at me like she's seeing me for the first time. I take a deep breath and pull out the ring I've been carrying around for months, waiting for the perfect moment. I don't want to waste another second without you. Marry me, Bryn. Be my wife, my partner, my everything. For a moment there's silence, and then Eliza's soft gasp fills the room. Bryn's hand covers her mouth, her eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. She steps closer, her voice a whisper. Quincy, is this really happening? Yes, baby, I reply, my voice rough with emotion. I love you. Always have. Always will. A single tear slips down her cheek, and she laughs, a sound filled with disbelief and joy. Yes, she breathes out. Yes, I'll marry you. I slide the ring onto her finger, and it fits perfectly, just like us. Standing, I pull her into my arms, her body fitting against mine like she was made for me. Eliza's applause breaks through our bubble, and we both turn to her. You two are going to make me cry, Eliza says, wiping at her eyes with the tissue she seems to have conjured from nowhere. Mama, you already are, Bryn laughs, leaning into my side. You have no idea how much this means to me. I think I have a pretty good idea, I say, kissing her forehead. Now, how about we celebrate? I think this calls for something a bit stronger than coffee. Eliza grins. I've got a bottle of champagne I've been saving for a special occasion. I think this qualifies, don't you? Bryn looks up at me, her eyes shining. Absolutely. As Eliza heads to the kitchen, I tighten my hold on Bryn. Welcome to the rest of our lives, I whisper. She smiles, a look of pure happiness on her face. I can't wait to get started.